Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geekverse. I'm your host, Dylan Musnett. With me, the big snapper, Kirklin Check In. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm just happy to be here. I'm feeling very purple as my aesthetic for the video viewers checking in. They can see how purple I am, and actually big snapper. It goes with Thanos. Thanos is purple. I
Yes.
unintentionally put all that together, but I can't wait to be here. This is awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for this. This is one of those Sidequest episodes I think is mostly going to be talking about just the games we've been playing. I have a few things I'm excited to talk to you about as well. We're going to talk about some Marvel Snap, new season starting the day this episode drops. So we're going to talk about all the new cards and whatnot. But then there's also been some like data mine things of cards coming out in the next couple months, and I want to throw a couple of them past your way as well and see what you think of them. So yeah, it should be a fun episode. In terms of the plugs, head over to Patreon to get episodes early and ad-free. That's the main place to be, of course. Join the Discord. Discord's a fun place to hang out, talk about stuff. And also, we currently have a Geekverse Music League going on. We just started a new round. If anyone would like to join that, join our Discord. And you can see the link in there, and you can join and share some songs with everyone. A little game, a little game to play. Leave a review. Me and Kirkland were just talking about this, but my game, Potion Problem, is coming out in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, which is crazy. It should be scary, but I'm not scared. I'm excited. I'm just hyped to get hear some random people in the world playing it and be done with it and move on to the next game, that kind of thing. But yeah, everyone should go wishlist that and then check it out. Sounds like me and Kirkland were just talking. He might be the first person to ever beat the game, other than me doing my test.
That's a crazy stat. That's more motivation actually to really power through. I'm just gonna get no sleep tonight and just finish it.
Not often do you get the opportunity to be the first person to beat a game before.
That's very true, actually. Yeah.
So you have a couple weeks, and then the crazy people in the wild will like beat it in 2 hours probably and start speed running.
Speed runs will already be up there. Yeah, exactly.
So go check that out. And then I mentioned this last week, but me and Travis, we're going to be doing a retrospective of Hellblade. So make sure to, if you want to join along for that, if you haven't played it before, go check it out. It's on Game Pass, short game, easy game to go check out. So I'm probably going to be playing that. Probably this week is when I'm going to start playing that, actually. Maybe even tonight. Who knows? We'll see.
Do you have a good set of headphones? I heard it's like really important.
It's funny that I thought about that because my headphones, that my normal podcasting ones, as we talked about a few months ago, broke.
Rest in peace.
I kind of fixed them, but kind of didn't. They just don't really work, and I haven't gotten new ones. And so yeah, that maybe is an issue because that is a very auditory based game. Maybe I should at least get the headphones before the new game comes out because it seems like that one's doing even crazier stuff with the audio. But yeah, I definitely need to get some quality headphones again. I've been using these crappy little phone ones, and they get the job done. But for a game like that, I want to be blasting it, and I don't want to hurt my poor eardrums, right?
I'm really overdue for a new set of headphones as well. I've been, as you've seen for the last years, I've just been using these little crappy AirPod or Apple, not AirPod, Apple earbuds that just came with an iPhone or whatever years ago. And man, they are starting to like completely fall apart. Like this part is like separating right here. So sometimes it just like I rip it off and it just like splits.
Part of it stays in the ear.
I don't want to I don't want to glue it either because I feel like it'll just be like too big and my ear won't fit nicely. I really got to just bite the bullet and get some new headphones because I have an old pair of Logitechs that I used to use, but just the cord throughout like improper use is just starting to fray a little bit, and it's to the point that like if you have like the little input device like slightly rotated, you won't get any audio in the right ear, so you have to like, it's like I'm playing like Skyrim or something, trying to like pick a lock to like get like the perfect audio level. But yeah, I'm overdue, and it's important, especially in a game like that, and get some great audio.
Yeah, well, if you do, whichever one of us picks up new headphones first, we'll have to throw the recommendation over.
There you go.
I was doing a little research, but I didn't decide on one yet. When we're dropping into the war zone playing Call of Duty or Outlast, what's your audio setup like for that? Do you have headphones for that, or are you rocking those, or nothing at all?
I use like my crappy ones that I was just mentioning where like they have to be like kind of perfectly in the middle. However, we also, when we play Breaking the Fourth Wall, we go Discord, right? So I have Discord on my phone and I use these earbuds underneath of my headphones.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So I'm double earbud headphoned up, but sometimes if like Shay's not home, she's at work or whatever, I'll just have the audio through the TV.
Right.
Just because it can be a little strenuous of having the double earbud
I was doing that
combo.
for a while too with the double headphones, and since mine broke, I've stopped doing that, and now I'm just full lazy mode. I don't even put headphones in. I just have Discord on my phone, like on a pillow, just like sitting on my chest essentially. And the TV is the this game audio is coming through the TV, but it's like at 3 volume. It is so quiet because I don't want to wake Muds up. It's a loud
That's
game
fair.
with gunfire and all this.
Yeah.
So I used to be just like, oh, I'd find all the footsteps and I could say, oh, Travis, like up the stairs right behind you, there's a guy there. But now I can't hear anything. I'm like so useless. I'm all about the visual experience in terms of that, which maybe for Outlast, that would probably be too much, too freaky in the headphones.
Yeah.
There, but yeah.
Yeah, don't do that setup with Hellblade.
Yeah.
Just 3 volume phone on the lap.
Barely engaged with it. That would not be good. Any other plugs, or I don't even know what's dropping this week. I'm very out of the loop in the last couple days here.
Lots of retros. We got the new Planet of the Apes movie coming out on
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday. Very much looking forward to that. But yeah, all those retros are there. Mad Max retros, Furiosa.
Did a review of
A lot
Fall
of retros.
Guy. Oh, I wanted to mention this. You and Taylor reviewed Knuckles. I did
Yeah,
not
almost forgot
watch
about that, actually.
Knuckles, and I never will. But I love that review. Is so fucking funny. If anyone needs a good laugh, whether or not you're watching the show or not, just listen to that review, because I don't want to spoil it, but I'll just say it was so freaking good. I was cracking up in the car ride listening to that. So thank you guys for doing that, and I'll say taking one for the team by going to check out that show.
I'm really glad that you checked that out, because I feel like I just was battling some demons while watching that show, and I let them
Hearing
out
you
on
guys
the
break
review.
down like what the plot of that show actually is insane to me. That those were the choices that they decided to make.
Oh,
So
yeah.
definitely a worthwhile listen for. Like I said, even if you're not watching that show, go listen to that review, at least the non-spoiler section.
Absolutely. Taylor and I also just dropped Tales of the Empire review last night,
Okay.
so that's on the feeds. And,
Remind me what that is. I can't keep up with all these.
So, like,
Star
they did
Wars
Tales of the Jedi, which is different than Star Wars Visions. It's basically just filling in some cracks between certain characters that are already established in the universe. This is only a 6-part series, 50-minute episodes, so like super short. But this one was following 2 characters that
New characters, or is this one also following like
new
established
to
people?
me, because I haven't
Okay.
seen Ahsoka and like a lot of Clone Wars stuff and Rebels and stuff like that. So it was like all new to me, and then Taylor was, of course, the
master. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's same thing with Halo, where he just like references like a chapter from a book, like book 4, and he just knows it like the Bible. Like he's just so well versed in it. So he was a great resource to have on that review, because I was just like asking questions, and he of course had all the answers to everything. But
That's
no,
the
it was
best.
fun. It was fun to break it down.
Awesome. Good stuff. Okay, let's get into it. I'm gonna throw to you first. What have you been playing lately? Any new games or revisited games that you want to shout out today?
Nothing new.
Okay.
I mentioned to you off cast, I've been putting in some work on Potion Problem, but
Yes.
I feel like I got a what are they called? Like a reviewer gate. Can't say anything on on air
If
for
you-
that, but
Here's the NDA. You can say anything positive. No, just kidding. No, you can say a quick piece for it if you want. Help maybe you get a wish list or a few for me. That would be good.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I don't have anything negative to say, so that's a good thing. And no, this has been the first time that I've really put time in, like with the version that has music and stuff added
Right.
to it. And man, it is just such a nice, wholesome game. Like I feel like also you did such a great job at like it is a smaller scale game, but you still were able to achieve some really good world building with like certain ingredients or maybe certain things in there that I'm like, where did this guy come from? Like where did we pull this little critter that I'm maybe ripping his tongue out or finding some things in his belly button. So I really loved just your detail with that stuff, and I feel like I was able to see some inspiration that you maybe had pulled from just previous games that you've talked about, whether it's something like Coffee Talk or like just those like little wholesome games that just have really unique world building in the sense of like you're not going out there and like experiencing the world on your own, but just in this little area you're able to kind of tell a story in that sense. So definitely tip my hat to you in that aspect, and just the gameplay cycle is really, really fun for me. So definitely wish list and check out Potion Problem when that drops in 2 weeks. But I've been having lots of fun with that. I was up a little bit too late last night doing it, and I'm like, maybe just one more of these levels I'll do, and then it's like, no, I got to see what the next potions are. And I felt like I was dreaming about the ingredients last night in my
Oh, nice.
head.
The Tetris effect for Potion Problem.
Yeah,
I like to hear
exactly.
that. I'm guessing you're going through the campaign.
Yeah.
Have you jumped into any of the bonus levels yet, or is that more of a? I mean, most of them don't really unlock until very later on in the campaign anyway. But how's that? Have you checked any of those out?
No, I haven't done any of the bonus levels yet. So does that count if I beat the main campaign and then I
think
still got to do the bonus
you can say you
levels?
beat the game if you if you do the campaign. There's no like credits that roll.
It's
or
like an any
anything
complete
that,
thing, yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious to hear what you think of those once you get to them, because they're a bit weirder off the cuff. Some of them are more puzzly.
Nice.
Some of them are more like challenge based. But I've had very little, if any, playtesting on those. So who knows how they might not be maybe as polished as some of the campaign is. But I think because they're bonus stuff anyway, you can kind of connect with it as much or as little as you want. And I'm okay with that.
I'll definitely let you know how that goes, and hopefully I can complete them. I'm on a journey now, but yeah. What else was I going to say? No, I think that's it. I had something else to say on it, but it's eluding me right now. I was thinking about the bonus levels. That's fine. What else I've been playing? Warhammer 3 just dropped a really nice big patch, 5.0. I feel like whenever you have like a solid patch like that, whether it's like 2.0, 5.0, as opposed to like 1.7, 1.6, you know, like I just feel like it's a big milestone, and
that is huge, yeah.
I haven't really had time to like fully jump into a campaign there, but I was checking out some things in there, and it's got me very excited to do a certain Empire campaign, just because with this patch they've of course released like a new DLC that has, I think it's 4 new legendary leaders to lead a faction or whatnot, and whenever they do that, it usually shifts the starting locations around for certain heroes, and one empirical type characters, and he's Balthasar Gelt. He's got one of the coolest names ever. Like I've used that name in like D&D campaigns and like other role-playing aspects, just like such a sweet sounding name. But he's the supreme patriarch of the Empire and the colleges of magic, and he's just a really interesting character because his magic that he uses is lore of metal, and it's all about like alchemical properties of like turning things into gold. And I think some really brief lore on him is like he had like a big explosion go off, so he wears this like golden mask, and he's just like, he just seems kind of like an automaton type character, but he is human, has a very powerful gravitas of a voice, and he's just a really cool character. However, in previous versions, I've hated his starting location like so much. I've done like one of his campaigns and just not a fan of it, just because the early portions of the campaign is such a slog to get through and just not very fun. But with this patch, they've completely removed him from the Empire starting area, and he's kind of in the far east, and he just has like a lot of new threats on his border and brand new campaign mechanics, which is really, really cool.
Does his metalmancy, his master of magnetism, whatever you call it, like what is the gameplay implication of that, or is that more of a lore thing?
So yeah, the when I said lore, the lore, what's the best way to say this? Like the way that magic works in Total War Warhammer, or just Warhammer in general, is they're called like lores. So lores of magic. Oh, okay. So there's like lore of fire, lore of life, lore of metal. So yeah, his lore is basically his spell book that he uses is for the lore of metal. But
gotcha.
There is obviously lore implications as well with that. Like he's also the Empire, they have like a lot of gunnery type units, like really heavy artillery, big cannons, big Hellstorm rocket batteries, which are just so satisfying to just decimate units with. And he gets like boosts and buffs to I think he adds armor to all of his units, but also just like he's got the best artillery in the game. Like he's just really, really powerful at boofing.
Buffing, boosting.
I try to say both of those in mixed
I like
order.
Boofing.
But,
that's good. Yeah.
So yeah, no, like he's really good at padding the stats of those types, really strong units, which is really satisfying. It usually takes a while to get there, just because they're very expensive units, and that's why his previous starting location was just such a annoyance, because you're just trying to get to that point that you're like really rich and just like fielding all these massive artilleries to just like have the super satisfaction of just destroying these units, but I feel like you never get there because you're just always so broke and always like just getting destroyed by other vampire counts or whoever's just raiding your lands. It's super frustrating in that sense. But no longer. He's in a completely different area, which is fantastic. I love his new campaign mechanics. They've also changed up a couple other factions, like kind of minor ones. That was like the biggest upgrade to him. So yeah, that's a long-winded way of saying that I haven't jumped super far into this, but I was just scratching the surface. And
Well, I'm curious because I feel like it seems like Warhammer 3 came out and
yeah,
you liked it, but there's changes and la di da. And then I feel like you kind of went back to Warhammer 2, and this is the first time I feel like I'm hearing you go back to Warhammer 3. Is that an accurate telling the events?
not entirely. I did take a break from Warhammer 3, like because when the game came out, it was just like the set Realm of Chaos campaign, which only includes the factions that were included in Warhammer 3. Now the big campaign that everybody loves is Mortal Empires from Warhammer 2, which combined the factions of both games, but now they have Immortal Empires, which is the combination of all three games.
Okay. Kind of like the Hitman effect where they just take the 3 games and bundle them. Okay.
No, exactly. But the big thing there is that the maps, like Warhammer 3 had like a map that, that's what everyone plays on. Warhammer 2 had a map. Warhammer 1 had a map. But Warhammer 3 with the Immortal Empires, it just combines all of the maps. So it's basically just a globe that you're just like conquering. It's so satisfying. That's where it takes like weeks to get through a campaign, whereas maybe the campaign just for the single game, you could probably beat them honestly in one sitting, and one sitting is probably 4 hours, like around there. But like still, it is possible. Immortal Empires, absolutely not. There's no way that you can beat those. Like I don't even think you could get the short victories in like one sitting. And does Civ have like short and long victories as well? I can't quite remember. I haven't played too much Civ.
Not really. I mean, I guess the short, like there are win conditions that like once you reach a certain amount of culture where you are going to get the culture victory, like that could happen before the game would end in terms of like the timeline of it. But very rarely, like usually you're going to be like at least in the modern era or like the info era before that kind of thing happens. Yeah. So I guess it would just be like the war-based one. Like if you kill all the other nations, you could get a win much earlier on. But that's like, maybe if you had a game with like at most 6 countries and you were playing as like the Huns or something like that and just going on a killing rampage. But yeah, most of the time that's not really, that wouldn't really happen. At least Civ 5 I'm talking here. I'm sure the other games have different situations that could arise.
Yeah, I think the Civ game I played the most was Beyond Earth, which is kind of regarded as one of the lesser ones. But I remember there was like different victory conditions, not necessarily like how long. Like I feel like they all kind of take the same amount of time to get there. Kind of what you're laying out, like some of the later eras. But no, in Warhammer, there's unless I'm mistaken, I think there's 3 victory conditions. There's the short victory, which has like take out your main enemy usually. Have this amount of settlements, and then you'll get the short victory. Long victory is usually like double that or whatever it might be. Like you might have to take out more enemies or control certain areas that are kind of like lore accurate to what your faction would be trying to go for. And then there's just the domination victory, which is literally just paint the map, like destroy every single
destroy everyone.
Not necessarily destroy everyone, but it's like have control of all the territories through military alliances or just own them. And I've never done that before. that is a venture and a half. But
just because of like timing, like how long that would take, or because it's just really hard like to do mechanically?
I think it's mostly the time thing. Like, there's been certain campaigns where I've just really popped off. I've taken out like my main threats, and it's like, I'm kind of done with this campaign. Like, I want to do something else.
Right.
My most famous
Civ.
one.
I love the early phases of Civ. I love the first half, and then once I get to some point in history, I'm like, I'm out. I've carved my path here.
My actually most favorite campaign that I've ever done in any Warhammer game was my most recent one that I've done with the character's name's Malice Darkblade, and he's by far my favorite character in Warhammer. He's just so interesting. He's a dark elf, which is very like tyrannical. Think like Sauron's army, like that sort of like level. Like they take slaves and just freaking torture people to death. Like it is just pure evil type faction, but like their units are really sick. They have these hydras and just really like great monster type characters. But for him, he's like possessed by a demon, so he can also like turn into this just like super powerful demon on the battlefield, and he's a god. Like it's just so fun to play, so satisfying. And normally the Dark Elves they start in a certain area. which like the running meme is just Canada because the Warhammer map is like loosely attached or like compared to like Earth, like loosely, like they just have like North America, then like South America types, like that's what it looks like at least, and that's where the Dark Elves are, is in Canada, basically where we are right now, but just more north. So yeah, that's normally where the Dark Elves start, but for Malice, he starts like way over to the east, like way in the Chaos Waste, like super north. And on this campaign, I'm like, I'm gonna take out the races of men and just completely raid and pillage them, and like they're basically in Europe, like think of that on the globe map. So I just went like straight south and just started like murdering people, and it was so satisfying because the settlements are a lot closer together than where the Dark Elves usually are, and the main source of income for the Dark Elves is just going to war and raiding and pillaging. So like if you are constantly in war, you're just going to be so rich so fast, and that's basically what I did in that campaign. It was so fun to just be constantly at war with so many different people and kind of playing like the political games to kind of like get two factions to somewhat be at war with each other, and then like whoever wins, you just like surround all their nations while they're still having
their
wars.
Weekend from this
exactly.
war.
I love to kind of like role play too while I play those games. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll shake your hand here. Then like meanwhile I'm moving all like my armies closer into this area. Yeah.
You're throwing here.
100%. So that was my most recent campaign, and that one I haven't quite hit the point where I'm like, I feel like I'm satisfied with this, because I feel like I really just want to destroy all of the forces of good. There was a campaign though, like a long time ago, where I think it was one of my earlier Dark Elf campaigns, where the main enemies of the Dark Elves are of course the High Elves, the good elves, and I just kind of destroyed all of their lands. They come from this isle. It's almost like Somerset Isles, actually. Think of like Elder Scrolls type situation, but it's called Ulthuan, just a big island for the High Elves. And I just completely took it over. And I just like, I conquered all my enemies, and I'm just sitting there on my island. This is like the main goal, what the Dark Elves want. And I'm like, this feels fucked up. I feel like I'm really the bad guy here. Like there's no life left on Ulthuan. Like this is just not satisfying. So that was the end of that campaign. But sometimes I'll also just start up a campaign to kind of have like a set goal in mind. Like let's just try and get to this location, or take out this enemy, or try and ally a certain character that's usually an enemy. So sometimes I kind of have like a narrative goal in that sense, but yeah, I don't even know how I got on that topic. I love talking about Warhammer. And
no, if you start on Warhammer, it's hard to get you to stop. So.
This patch, man, I am super pumped about. So yeah, big release 5.0. I think it's 5.0.1 now, because they had a hot fix, because of course one faction was just like incredibly busted or something. They needed to fix something really quick. But yeah, no, I'm super jazzed on Warhammer. Just
good stuff.
You know, every handful of months or something, or like quarterly, I'll just get the bug. The bug will just bite me, and I just got to get back in there and start a campaign. Yeah. But
I wanted to ask you about a few games that you've brought up in the last few months that I haven't heard you talk about since, and so I'm just curious what the status of them are. Are you gonna come back to them? Are they officially abandoned? A couple of them I care about. A couple it's like I don't care what he does here.
Okay, that's
where you at with Baldur's Gate 3? You jump back into that yet with Shay?
Shay and I have not jumped back in a while. Yeah, no, it's been a hot minute there.
I'm with you there. It's been a couple months for me. It's weird that so much of the motivation for me playing the game was, goddamn, I just want to get to the freaking city of Baldur's Gate. It takes so freaking long. You got to do all this stuff. Got to do this underworld. It's annoying. All this stuff. I mean, it was fun, but there was also parts along the way where I'm like, I just want to go to the city. And then I got to the city, and then I just like all my motivation fell away, and I just kind of stopped. So I still on Backloggd, where I keep track of all the games I'm playing. I still have that in the playing section. I haven't officially abandoned it or put it down, but yeah, for some reason it's been like 2 months now. I feel like that it's gotten away from me somehow, but I definitely need to get in there, because I think I'm pretty close to finishing at least one playthrough, which I think will be good for me for the next. I don't know if I'll ever do another playthrough. I think one will be good for me, honestly.
You had one going with a friend, didn't you? How
that was very short-lived. That was like a maybe 6 to 8 hours of game time. And then he was playing with his partner, and like they finished the game, and then I kind of was focused on my single-player one. So yeah, that was kind of short-lived. He mostly just is grinding that Counter-Strike game. So, hard to pull him away.
Respectable, yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that one, it I feel like it's been like 2 months as well for us, at least on that playthrough. I was talking to the notorious Patreon Tyler, and he was telling me that he recently got back into it as well. Like he said it was challenging though, because I mean, as you know, like you're pretty far in the game. Some of the combat sequences are very long and very hard, like very challenging, especially if you don't maybe know like a certain trick to defeat it, and then like you're getting some bad rolls back to back, and like there's been many times where we start combat and like I don't even get to play because the enemy goes and they just destroy my characters. They get like just a perfect roll or something, or maybe I wasn't quite full health, or I kind of put my characters in a disadvantaged location that just really screwed me over.
That was one of the things that bummed me out a few times is in D&D in general, and like an RPG like this, I love to stew in my consequences. And if I fuck up an encounter or I do the wrong speech option and all this bad stuff happens, it's like, cool, I want to make that the canon ending. But then I just like die at some point in the fight, and then I have to restart over and over again. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like the stakes kind of get taken away because it's like too hard at times, and they do take a very long time. Some of these battles do when there's like 30, NPCs that are a part of this battle. It's like they can take forever, but yeah, they are very satisfying whenever it is finally done. But sometimes it's been like, man, I wish this fight wasn't quite so savage.
Yeah, no, 100%. Or you think you're doing good, and all of a sudden, like 5 more people just like come around the corner, and then like nowhere. You see those new icons pop up at the top. But Tyler was telling me that he got back into it, and he said there was one battle that he was kind of like, I don't know if it was like he was stuck on it or like he just jumped into the battle and he just kind of forgot about like kind of where he was at, and he struggled to jump back into it. But I think since then he's gotten past that point, and carried on. And I'm curious if he's probably gonna listen to this episode, so I hope I'm not saying anything about his campaign there. But as far as I knew, he did jump back into it, and that's kind of just what put it in my ear, and I was like, oh yeah, like, don't forget what's going on. Let's jump back in there. And no, our schedules have been very disorganized these last couple of weeks, but I definitely want to jump back in there.
Peach Showtime, still playing through that?
I beat the game, actually.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I forgot to bring that up, actually. I was not even going to mention it today because I just kind of forgot about it. But no, I have rolled credits on that, and
nice. That was really the second half, because you were about halfway through, I think, on the review.
Yeah, I think that there's there's only so many costumes and stuff that you do, so there is like repetition levels. I can't remember if I mentioned that on the review. I was kind of early on, I think, like maybe 2 or 3.
I think you had done a couple repeat levels at that point, or repeat costume levels, but yeah,
so there you go. So I really love the ones that I still liked, and I feel like the costumes that I didn't love from the beginning, I still didn't quite love them on like the repeats, which is understandable, I guess. But no, I had a really fun time with it, actually. I think it was a really cute, whimsical little adventure with Peach. Just a great title card game to have under Princess Peach, and I really like the ending as well. You kind of get like a newer costume, a newer outfit, and there's nice. two versions of it, sort of thing. I attribute it to like basically Super Saiyan Peach.
Nice. That's cool.
You don't get crazy hair or anything, but it's just like the outfit change. It's just like, fuck, she feels like Supersonic here or Super Saiyan. So I really did like the overall journey, and I thought it was a satisfying ending. And the boss battle wasn't too crazy difficult, but I had lots of fun with it. I am glad that I stuck through it. It was kind of like easy enough and not too hard of a grind that I feel like, honestly, I feel like my one session after we did the review, I was able to just power through it. Maybe took like an hour or two. But it was really good. And Shay still hasn't had the chance to play on her own, so we'll probably, she'll play through it, but I'll be there and see what her thoughts are on certain, like the fucking Sherlock Holmes outfit one. Like I'm not a fan of that at all.
Oh, okay.
Those levels were just so slow paced, and you're like trying to find clues, and maybe I'm just bad, but it wasn't like the most clear too on what I'm supposed to do. So like that was the only one that up until that point, that was the first one that I actually like failed a level on, just because I kept making these false accusations, and then you just keep losing health bars when you make these false accusations. So
that's funny.
I don't get it. She's not Ace Attorney, man. Like keep this away from a different game.
Yeah. Helldivers 2, which had a lot of controversy over the weekend, which is already kind of like gone and resolved, where PlayStation wanted to establish this, like, you have to have a PSN account, and this was an issue where a lot of countries don't have that ability to do that. So then, like, people weren't able to play the game. They're getting all these refunds. It became, I think, the third most negatively reviewed game over the course of like 3 or 4 days, which is insane. And then PSN, like, already on like Sunday, they like revote, or I guess undid that change. And so now I think peace is coming back to the kingdom, but it's not going to be without like I think a ton of pain, a ton of lost customers along the way. So
100%.
Not a good look for them. And I mean, I don't think it's the Helldivers team. It was not their choice. It was PlayStation. But I don't know. Have you jumped in there in the last few weeks?
I think it's been like a few weeks actually. Yeah. Well, whenever you, me, and Travis did our episode, like I had played that weekend.
Right. I think that was 2-3 weeks ago. Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, it was like 2 weeks. I didn't really know anything about this controversy until I just popped in the Discord. I think it was yesterday, and I was like, "Woof, that's really bad." Like, I'm fortunate enough to be on PlayStation, so it didn't really affect me in that sense. But still, just a really terrible business decision, and just from going to like probably one of the most positive like game releases, and just like the word of mouth just really blowing that game up, to just being, as you just laid out, like one of the most negatively reviewed, like just downvoted thing. It was just wow, what a stumble. But I mean, I'm glad that they kind of opened their eye. I don't know what the point of the decision would have been in the first place, but I'm glad they undid that change. But no, for democracy, they made that change. That's the running joke of the game. What about
Returnal? How's that going?
Oh yeah, no, I haven't dabbled.
I'm making you feel all the shame right now with all these unfinished games, but genuinely for all of these, I just really want to hear your thoughts as you get deeper in them. So
that was another one actually. Patreon Tyler was telling me that he had jumped back into, and he said that he felt like he was pretty close to the end. You should do the
co-op, right? It has co-op. They added co-op at some point.
Yeah, you're 100% right, actually, with the tower. Yeah, no, we really should. I don't know why we haven't linked up in that sense, but there you go. I got something to do now.
It's motivation.
But no, it was funny. He was telling me that he felt like he was pretty much at the end of the game, and then he finished what he was doing, and it said like Act 1.
Oh, that's crazy.
Like he was like hours in, and he's just like, oh my god, like I felt like I was really getting close to the end there. God. But no, that it was a funny moment when he told me that. And when he was telling me about like his enjoyment of the game, that's where I was like, oh, that game's so good, I got to jump back in there. And I we had played some Call of Duty these last couple weekends, and I was just kind of wanting like another shooter to just like just jump into. I mean, of course I got Helldivers, but also just maybe a more single player one. I think I had uninstalled Returnal to make room for Call of Duty, so that's probably why it wasn't on like my page.
Goddamn Call of Duty, man, taking up too much room on that hard drive.
Yeah, but I had popped on to my my PlayStation catalog thing just to see games that maybe have been on the wish list or something that I haven't touched, and one on there that I don't know. I've never really played any of them. It's one of the, I wouldn't say bigger franchises, but it's got history to it, and all of the titles are actually on PlayStation catalog, is the Wolfenstein series, and I've never played a Wolfenstein game. Like I know they kind of date back to almost the Doom like era. Like I know the earlier game kind of looks and feels the same sort of way of the early Doom, or Quake even kind of feels. And I've heard good things about the newer ones, so I was like, that could be one that also isn't too much of a time commitment. I imagine those games are pretty short and fast paced to kind of fire through. So that was one that kind of piqued my interest. We were thinking of
doing one of them in leading up to Indiana Jones, because that's the same studio. So doing like a 1-episode retro of one of the Wolfenstein games leading into that. So I'll keep you updated on that. You should definitely join us. That'd be fun one. That's cool that it's on PlayStation. I'm surprised that it's on there, because that's like a owned by Microsoft situation. They're all on Game Pass too. So I guess they're just widely available across the board. That's awesome.
No, it's funny too, because when I went to the PlayStation Store area, of course, because Fallout just completely popped off. The one show I just decided to skip ends up being like one of the better video game shows. But and like Fallout, like I just see on like my Steam list, I have like 6 friends right now playing Fallout, which is great. Fallout's great. But there was actually a category that said like post-apocalyptic, and like the first game was Fallout. So it's like if you want to get that vibe, and Wolfenstein was in that category, which
interesting. Okay, I don't really know much about the series myself, other than that Briggs has always kind of praised the game. So I didn't know about that aspect of the setting. I always thought it was more just like Nazi Germany sort of setting, but I'm sure it gets deeper and more interesting than that, right?
Yeah, like I don't know. I thought it was strange. I guess just because it's kind of maybe Nazi Germany controlled, it feels like a apocalypse happened, which would make sense. But
right.
No, there's a lot of cool titles in there too, and like Days Gone. That's another one too that have just always eluded me.
Me and Travis were just talking about that last week
funny.
and how we never got around to it, but still want to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last one, and I want you to feel bad about this one if you haven't gone back to it.
I already know what you're gonna say.
Just say
I
it.
know.
Just say it.
Fucking what's it called now? Oh no.
Don't tell me you can't even remember the name of it. Starts with an I, ends with a description.
Oh, okay. That's not
Wait,
the one I was talking
were
about.
we on
I
different
thought you were gonna go
wavelengths
Sea of Stars, actually.
Oh, I was going Inscription. I was going.
You were going Inscription. Okay. No,
But
yeah.
there's another one. Yeah, you do need to finish Sea of Stars as well.
I feel bad about both of those, but no, I have not jumped on Inscription since we last talked, unfortunately.
Inscription is shorter than Sea of Stars, so
I think I just got like my ass handed to me by a certain boss battle, and I'm like, I gotta recoup, make a snack, and then the snack ended up being a month-long hiatus. But
a month-long snack, yeah. Okay, well there you go.
Apologies.
In case you forgot about any of these games, now they're back on your.
You need to do this, like I think every time I'm on here to like really like motivate me, because it's like, oh my god, the teacher's gonna ask for my homework, so I better do my homework. You're gonna be asking.
I will say you nailed the assignment for Peach. Like, oh yeah, I beat the game. That's the. I'd love to hear that answer more often, but I mean, I'll take it still. That's great.
Absolutely.
I mean, relative to Travis and Taylor, you do play a lot more games than they do on a week-to-week basis, so that's
appreciate it. Yeah. And last year, probably the most games I've ever finished in my life. All thanks to the Arcane Retro.
Yes, great times.
And Arcs, man, that's like one of the longest games too to like really have a time
and
stamp on.
Hard as fuck. so difficult of a game. Yeah, good stuff. There you go. There's Kirklin's games. We're gonna go do a quick ad break, and when we get back, I'll share 2 games that I've been playing. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. First up, this is going to be an update from last week. By chance, did you listen to last week's Sidequest? Once again, put you on the spot here.
No, I missed that episode.
Well, last week, I shared with Travis that I picked up on sale and started playing the first Outlast.
Ooh,
yeah.
Nice.
And I've since complete Outlast. I beat it, and then I went through and I also beat the DLC, the Whistleblower DLC.
Hell yeah.
Did you play that as well back in the day?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I love that DLC.
I'm going to open up the spoiler gates here because I want to talk to you about some of the crazy stuff that happens at the end of this game. So if anyone cares about spoilers for a 2015 10-year-old game, maybe even longer, I guess.
I think it was 2013 actually.
Because it was if you guys were talking about back in the Target days, it must have come out.
I was in high school when I played that.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow,
so well over a decade ago at this point. So yeah, if you don't want to hear spoilers for Outlast, there's timestamps in the episode, so you can skip forward a bit here. But man, the fucking end of Outlast is insane. I don't know how vividly you remember it.
Oh, very vividly. Actually,
good. Because I was talking to Travis
that whole
about
game in one sitting on when I used to do my Sunday streams.
Right.
Actually.
I guess that was more recently than that you played it. But when I was talking to Travis about it, he's like, I told him I beat the game. And he's like, oh yeah, you got out of the asylum there? I'm like, no, that does not happen at the end of the game. I did not get out of the asylum until I went into the DLC, and then you do get to go out of the asylum, which is kind of a fun, happy ending there. But yeah, it was funny. It was like both. It felt almost like cliche, but then also like it was just a huge mindfuck. Like the end of the game where you're going down that elevator, you got the last key, and then you're about to leave, and then the elevator just keeps going down and down, and you go into the underground hidden ice base. And why that feels a bit cliche is just I've been playing so much Resident Evil in the last like couple of years, and Resident Evil does that like all the time. There's always some underground hidden base, and it's always icy, and like so I don't know when that trend started in Resident Evil relative to Outlast doing it here, but that was a crazy moment for sure, not one that I expected. And yeah, like everything that happens in the last 20-30 minutes is just like freaking crazy stuff, and visually like such a distinct difference too, which I really enjoyed.
No, yeah, 100%. I feel like the first time I play that game, when you get to the point that, like you just said, like you're in, like for the most of the game, you're in like a very fucked up, like broken down asylum, and then you go to this like area that's just like very clean and like
other than
icy.
blood splatters, it's very clean.
Yeah, no, like it's just such a different aesthetic than what like the mental asylum is up top. Like it's like the sciencey laboratory, and when you like really learn kind of what the wall rider is, it's just like, man, this game was already so fucked up. Like
like
the
the first jump scare when there was like an actual ghost, because it's just like a random moment. It's not even like the ghost is like throwing some body. It's just like, you're just outside and you just walk into like some shed sort of thing, and then it just like pops up right in front of you.
Oh man,
that was like I feel like there's quite a few jump scares in the game, but that was one that like legitimately like made me jump. It got me.
Oh yeah, no, I remember that very vividly outdoors when you're running away from the wall rider, and like you can't really see it, like even with like the vision, like you can kind of see the silhouette, but it's just so terrifying because also up until that point you don't really even know what it is. Like you see the smoke or whatnot, but like like I don't know, the big guy with the fucked up face, I understand he's gonna fuck me up, but the ghost, I don't know what's gonna happen with that thing.
I know, and it leaves you alone like multiple times, so you're like, I don't know, is this thing friendly? And then it's not, and of course in Outlast, not actually fighting back. There's no combat in that way, so you don't really know how you're going to interact with these things. But yeah, I think interesting, like I guess parts of the game, like I felt like the AI in Trials is like so much better on the enemies, plus there's the element of you're being like thrown sometimes upwards of like 7 or 8 enemies are like in the level at a certain time, right? So it gets, even though if we're playing 3 or 4 of us and there's a lot of us to spread around, it's still like a lot of enemies. So going back to Outlast 1, it's interesting that like at most you're only fighting like maybe one guy, and by fighting I mean running away, and then like at that one point there's like those 2 brother kind of dudes, and they will like gang up on you. So it felt not quite as freaky of an experience to go back to just after playing Trials. And even though Trials, like we're doing it with friends, so you're kind of laughing, you have each other to keep each other company, this is much more just like that intimate experience. But still, like the couple moments that really stood out to me were one, I don't know the name of the guy, I'm sure he has a name, but he's like the experimenter guy, and he's like he seems like he like saves the day for you, and then he like puts you in a wheelchair, locks you up, and then there's like that whole sequence and you're trying to escape from him. And that was one of the sequences too where like it was really like most of the game was pretty linear and obvious, and I actually moved through it like really fast because it just like I kind of just knew where to go instinctively. Like they do a good job with the lighting and making it obvious where to go. But that section was really hard to figure out like where the key was, how I was supposed to get out of here. Certain rooms are looking very similar, so I was getting lost a lot. And yeah, very like tight, narrow corridors and stuff. So that was one. And then the other section that like, because for the most part, playing Trials, that game is so grotesque and disgusting and nasty that this game felt like PG compared to Trials. But then the sequence with like the creepy guy who's like talking about marrying you, and he's doing all these experiments. You remember him from Whistleblower? Like that creepy, like very suave guy. Yeah. That section is disgusting, and like that, I don't know. I feel like it probably eclipses any particular thing in Trials in terms of how nasty and weird and creepy and uncomfortable feeling it is. So yeah, and that he has a very similar kind of mechanics where he's following you around. During that sequence, you like break your ankle, so you're moving super slow, even with your sprint. So yeah, those 2 sections like were the most intense for sure of the experience.
I feel like they really like turn up the grotesque level like as they go on, because I remember even seeing some moments in Outlast 2. I played it briefly, but also like watched a friend play it.
I got that one on sale too, so I don't know when I'm going to jump into it, but I'm excited for just the kind of different setting for it after playing the first and third game now. Yeah,
no, absolutely. But yeah, no, Traeger, that was that guy's name with the scissors that cuts your fingers off.
Okay, right.
From the first game there. And yeah, that section, I remember kind of struggling at it for a little while too. Just as you mentioned, like trying to see what you have to find. And I also just kind of found the area that you're running around in, like it is kind of a loop. Like it's kind of a circle area. There's like a guy just like strapped to the bed that's kind of just like squirming and making noise. It's just like such a disturbing sequence. And when he takes you like to the door to escape, and then he's like, oh, let's not go there, and then he goes down the elevator, and it's just like, I'm never getting out of the semi.
Yeah, and then I thought Whistleblower was a really fun way to expand on the story, because you get like a little bit more of a prequel, but then also you get more at the actual ending instead of the kind of very cliffhangery situation. So I wonder if that's something that they had planned in advance, or if the game was just successful enough that they were able to go ahead and make that DLC because of the success of the game. I'm not too sure, but I liked playing as a different character, and I liked seeing parts of the lab and the asylum like before it's completely gone to shit, and you're kind of seeing it go to shit. You're seeing like the church burn down at one point, just being in the lab there doing that section and having this other character to play as. And then for a game like this, like I don't need a happy ending, but I will say that it was a cathartic feeling at the end of the game to finally exit the asylum, have like nice music playing, and like the wall rider almost gets you as you jump in the Jeep from like the first character's perspective. But then to get out of there and like have that ending again where you send the email to like, tell authorities about all the crazy shit going on at this facility, it was a nice ending. So I liked that as a kind of extension, kind of before and after the events of the main game. I thought it was a good DLC, and it was like less than 2 hours long. I blazed through it pretty quick, so it was a worthy add-on for sure.
No, yeah, that was one that going into the DLC, like I think the DLC came out probably within the year actually that it had come out. But like I just assumed it was going to be more levels or whatnot, but actually getting like the setup of you are the whistleblower, you're the one that's trying to like release these things, and then they throw you into the asylum. Like it's just such a fucked up scenario.
It was about 6 or 7 months after the game came out.
Okay,
the DLC, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I picked it up like as soon as it dropped, just because I jumped into the game a little bit after it had actually released, and then of course powered through it and just loved it and was terrified of it. And I think up until that point, it's just the scariest game I'd ever played. And so got that DLC, and as you mentioned, I feel like I was expecting it to be a very dour ending, just how like the original game does end. You feel like you're multiple times in the game, you feel like you're finally going to get out. And then you get to the point that you kind of shut down the program. Like the big main beefy guy that's been chasing you, like he's been taken out by the wall rider. Like most of your enemies are done. And then when those doors open up and those soldiers are right there with the guy, like with the professor type guy, it's just like, oh no. And then they light you up. And then of course the fucking wall rider just comes out of you. Like it's such a intriguing game, and it's one that like I think I've played through it maybe 3 or 4 times total now, and I've just really appreciated maybe like the story on the second or third playing of it, because I think the first time like I really did not care. Like I probably skipped all the cutscenes, like didn't read any of the blueprints, just was trying to run for my life. But when you actually like read some of the blueprints, and some of them are like case files on like the enemies that are chasing you, like it's just, I don't know, it's really fucked up story like all these Outlast games are. But
I did like reading. I read every single one of them, which I don't do in many games. And there's not too many of them, but yeah, even some of my favorite games, at some point I'm like, okay, I'm just going to pick this up, put it in my glossary, and I'll tell myself I'm going to read it in the future, but I never will. But I actually took the time to read every single one in this game. So that's a testament to the world building of it.
Yeah, no, it's something interesting about these horror games in general that I feel like they're just, the surface is they're just trying to scare you and get you sweaty and get the adrenaline pumping, but like I feel like there's just such really interesting stories that they could tell.
And that's where I'm really compelled now to go check out the second one, because I heard you guys talk about it on our Outlast Trials review, but neither you or Taylor really got too far in it. And especially now after playing this game and like being invested in the setup of it, and then like Trials, which less of a single player narrative game and more of like a multiplayer fun game, but there's still lots of like, wow, what's going on here? Who is setting this up? How is this related to the first game? Which I still don't even really have an idea of how that is connected in the grander sense of things. But yeah, like I am very curious to go to the second one. After I just went on like the Steam synopsis and was just reading through like, okay, what is the story set up here? And it seems like it's almost like an anthology sort of thing, but I'm sure it still is establishing this greater world, and there's going to be some ways it's connected to the first one. Otherwise they would have just named it some other new game instead of Outlast 2. So I am excited to jump into that one and see how it all connects, even though I played these games in a weird order, 3, 1, 2.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And then I also I didn't mention this, I don't think, with Travis last week, but yeah, like I think the movement of the game is a big part of why I really enjoyed it. Like it's parkour-y. It's like very linear in terms of like if you're gonna climb on this thing, it's like that's a story moment where you're supposed to climb on this thing. Usually, if you're climbing up somewhere, shimmying on a ledge. But I just thought like it moved really nicely. I know it sounds like kind of stupid, but it just like for a game that doesn't have combat, I think you need the movement to feel really good, and they definitely nailed that part of it. And obviously like the hiding in different corners or lockers or under beds, all that stuff works really well too. So yeah, it's just a fun game to play through, and like it does feel very fast. I'm like sprinting so much of the time, and I don't know, you just get like this momentum to it that I do feel like it would be a really fun game to speedrun, which I don't think I'll ever do, but it just even certain moments felt like I was kind of doing that anyway. So yeah, and like just a nice clean pace, not too long, not too short. DLC, like I mentioned, like nice and breezy. So had a really really good time finding playing through it. And it made me want to ask you, like, because you always talk about this game. This is like, I feel like one of your favorite games, like probably in your top 25 or something would be my guess. And then I feel like you haven't really ever talked about like other horror games. Like I know you've talked about Kolot, the great Kolot, which I did pick up and I do own, and I have it downloaded. I still just haven't actually jumped into it. But like, what's up with that? I feel like this game is so special to you, and you jumped in the second one a little bit, jumped into Trials, of course, but I don't know. Is there other series I'm missing of your gaming history that I just don't know about? Or is it really just like, for whatever reason, Outlast called to you, you played it, and that was like, you were good. You were satisfied.
Yeah, no, it's a really good observation that you made, because I feel like even with like horror movies, like I love them, but they also scare me, and and like
right, you need
like
them in small doses.
Like if I'm home alone, like you're being bold these days. You're powering through these Resident Evil games. You're getting into the horror game mood. If I'm home alone, it's like Friday night. No, like inch of me wants to just boot up like a horror game. Put on the immersive headphones and just turn off the lights and just be fucking terrified. Like nothing is calling to me for that. My love of Outlast definitely came from the era of, it was around the time like when Slenderman was kind of popping off.
Yeah.
Find the 8 pages, and I think mentioned him already twice tonight, might as well make it 3 times. Patreon Tyler, he was the one that showed me Slenderman, and like he's like, oh, have you heard of Slenderman game? I'm like, no, what is that? And he's like, I can't tell you anything about it. We're gonna download it, and you're just gonna play it. And I feel it kind of evolved from that. Like we maybe played that together, and then I think I like, again with Outlast, like I never played it alone at the beginning. Like I always had him with me every time that that I was playing through the game.
And now that you're like in your multiple playthroughs, now it's like, okay, well, I'm familiar with it. I kind of know what the jump scares are. That makes sense. How it's like it's almost like a comfort game, weirdly. Even disgusting comfort game of all time.
Very much so, and like nostalgia effect too. But like, I mean, I was just mentioning my interest in the story. I was gonna say love. It's not so much a love for the story because it's so fucked up, but just interest overall for the world building that they're able to kind of accomplish here, and like the whole Murkoff Industries and what's going on with that. Like it's just, I feel like it's just really rich with material there. Like you could make so many movies just surrounded about that idea of the Murkoff Institute and really what's going on.
Yeah, as we talked about, like Trials is pretty much just Saw like turned into a video game. So yeah.
So I think like my attachment to that specific title, like it very much comes from just that era of where I was in my life, and it's a nostalgic thing to kind of look back on. But other like horror titles, like it's funny because I'm really
you played an Amnesia game, right?
The first one, The Dark Descent. Again, same situation, like playing it with friends around that Slenderman era, and just, I don't know, it was fun to get freaked out with friends. I think we had, like, especially with Slenderman, I think it was one thing where like one person was on the mouse, the other person was on the WASD, and like it is so terrible, and there's no way of winning, but it just makes it a little bit of a co-op experience. But
for sure.
For games, like I've played a little bit of the Resident Evils, like some of the early ones on like early PlayStation, but didn't get far at all. I think I just got too scared, and then when I got to a scary part, I would just like turn it off. Not even pause the game, just like hit the PlayStation turn off button, go from there. I think the other like franchise that I've been really interested in and have somewhat been, especially now, like later in life, I've always been a little bit remiss. I think it's a word that I didn't really get the chance to fully jump into is the Silent Hill series. That's another one too where I've just, I don't know if YouTube algorithm or something just popped up, but it was just like a whole breakdown of like a like Pyramid Head, like that one character, and it's just such a fucked up and like weird type of character. And I was watching like a video on the guy that like the artist for it, and he was breaking down like the shapes of the pyramid head and how like the fact that it's like sharp on all sides just like emphasizes agony because like it can't be comfortable to wear, and it's just like adding to that grotesqueness of it. And just something about it. It's probably the same thing with the whole Murkoff lore, or like when I watch a horror movie like The Hereditary. I love that movie so much, and I've loved it so much more the more times I watch it because I'm just catching little details, or like just like the whole thing with the pagan demon and like just the things that tie together. Like I think there's just so much more than what's on the surface, and I think it's like an intrigue thing where I want to know more, not so much for the gameplay or getting spooked, just an intrigue about it. So for horror franchises, yeah, like I really haven't fully dove it. The one I've probably played the most, just because of there's so many different games, might be Resident Evil.
Right, because you played some of 7 as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good observation though. I'm glad you
Resident
pointed that out.
Evil, it is a funny one now that I'm playing through it, because it's like, yeah, a lot of these games really are action games, and they might have like a scary moment or two. But yeah, a lot of them are just like more kind of cheesy action movies. So but then yeah, go to something like 7, and that's like straight up a horror movie with very little action to it. So I think they kind of come and go in that way. But yeah, I don't know. It's been fun trying to get more into these games with, yeah, all the Resident Evil games recently. Amnesia: The Bunker last year was like such a cool game. I love the mechanics of that game. Alan Wake 2 last year was obviously a big deal. So yeah, it's been fun jumping back into this space, and excited to play through the third Outlast game here, or I guess the second, which will be then my third one. So I'm gonna.
So when you're playing these, are you doing the setup of 3-volume, like just speakers, or you got the crappy headphones on?
Yeah, I definitely don't. I have the distinct memory, and I've shared this before on the podcast, of the original Alan Wake, and that was when I played in high school. I'd only play it at night when it's dark, alone, headphones on, loud as fuck, and scare the hell out of myself. I don't really do that anymore. Like because I want to play these games and I want to enjoy them, and I don't know. I get too like freaked out if I got myself too much in those spaces. So when I'm playing Outlast, like I'm just playing at whatever time of day I just want to play video games. So sometimes it might be in the afternoon when it's light out, might be at night too. Volume's not too loud, don't have the headphones on. Muds might be in the background in the room, she might not be. It's really just if it's in my gaming time, whichever time that ends up being, I might jump into it. So it really kind of depends on the games, but I feel like I'm not intentionally trying to spook myself too much these days. I think maybe with Amnesia I did try and play it at more freaky hours alone with the louder music and stuff, but I'm not necessarily doing that with every game these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to pick and choose my battles,
Absolutely.
There you go. There's Outlast, and the other game I wanted to provide an update for is Balatro, which I have over 60 hours in now.
Holy
I've been
That's a solitaire game, right?
This is the poker game. This is the
poker game.
Yeah,
okay,
the poker
sorry.
roguelike. I mean, this has like been my game for the last, I guess, like month at this point, since I picked it up. And then I played like through Outlast, been like dabbling in other things, the odd Call of Duty or Outlast Trials with you guys. But otherwise, it's just like, I just want to play Balatro all day long, unlocking all this stuff. It's just one for me where it's like, you're unlocking all these different decks, which is like the different kind of starting presets for your run, so to speak. And so unlocking all those and getting up the difficulty levels for them is just a satisfying like checkbox of like, oh, I just got a new run and got this new unlock here. The achievement list on Steam is really fun, so I've been just going through trying to knock out certain things which make you kind of force you to play in weird, interesting ways and try different builds. But I finally now I've unlocked all the decks that you can get. I think there's 15 of them and then there's like 8 levels of difficulty that you can beat with each deck, which that's like too much. I'm not gonna do that with every single deck, but on the one deck that has been like the one that I found the most satisfying, I've now beat that on the highest difficulty. Ooh. So I got that Steam achievement, which feels good. And so now I think I'm almost like feel like I'm about to wind down on it, because there's also these challenge runs as well, which is just crazy. There's so much content in this game. So I think I'm gonna go through, do the challenge runs. And then at that point, I guess I just unlocked the last few cards I haven't used yet, which I think I only have like 3 or 4 more Jokers, and then I think I've seen like almost everything else. So I'm almost at the end of it. There'll be 2 Steam achievements I won't have, because 2 of them are like completionist plus, and then completionist plus plus, which just what the completionist plus plus is like. You have to win with every single Joker on the highest difficulty, which would just take like at least 20 to 30 successful runs, and that's assuming you're not getting duplicates, Jokers, which is not going to happen. Some of them suck. You're not going to use them. It's like that just seems like ridiculously oppressive to try and complete that achievement. So maybe in a few years, like I'll just do a run every once in a while and eventually get that achievement. But I'm going to leave those last 2 achievements behind and just do the rest of the challenge runs, get a win or 2 with each of the decks, and I think I'll be good on it. But yeah, it's like so much variety, so fun. There was a big new patch that came out for it like last week, I think, that did a bunch of balance changes, made some other cards kind of almost gave them like new effects in a way. So there's a little bit more of a random kind of content drop there. And I don't really know what other sort of content is planned for it, but just such a fun game, such a great roguelike in which it's hard for me to find a roguelike usually. But when I do find one that I love, it's like, like a Splunky, Binding of Isaac, Into the Breach. Like when they hit, they hit big for me. It's one of my favorite genres, but they don't all have that same effect for me. So I'm glad that it landed with Balatro. It's my game of the year so far, and I honestly might be surprised if anything beats it at this point, just because 60 crazy. Hours of like loving this game. I don't know. It's going to be hard to beat that at this point. I hope to see some other games try, but it's been just a great time. So big recommendation on that. $20 well spent. I'll tell you that.
You definitely got your money's worth with the amount of hours you got into it. I can't imagine the game was too expensive.
Yeah, I think $20 or so.
Yeah,
and I think it's taught me a lot about different poker hands. I feel like I know forever. It's like I play poker so infrequently, and we did recently on After 9, which was fun. I played so infrequently that I just can't remember like what's a full house. I don't know. Yeah. But now, like I feel like the values of them. And what cards they take and all this stuff, I feel like I'm proficient in now. So this game has taught me a little bit about that, hopefully. So
I'm worried. You're going to be high stakes. You're like, hey, are we putting money on this now?
No, I've literally never been to a casino. Well, I have been to a couple of casinos, but not to actually play games, just because like I was going through a casino to somewhere else. So I don't think I have any issues there. But there you go. Balatro, great game, super fun. And like I said, I think I'm winding down on it, which feels good because I need to do some other stuff. I need to play some other games.
Man, you reminded me when you're talking about achievements. There was a game that I know we both played that I booted up very briefly on Saturday, I think it was, because I just saw it randomly on my library, and then I just peered over at the achievements list. And there's an achievement on there that says, don't play the game for 5 years. And that game is Stanley Parable. Right. I saw it. I'm like, when was the last time I played that game? It was like 2013, I think. I'm like, man, let's boot this up. And then, of course, right away I got that achievement and just did like a quick little run, to the roll credits. There's many different ways to achieve that in that game, but just going through it and have the narrator veer me in different directions, it's just like, what a special game this was, actually.
Yeah, did you hear about the like super mega deluxe version that they released like last year or 2 years ago?
I saw it like just on the page, like when I went to my library there, but no, I didn't know exactly what that was.
I think they just added like a bunch of new endings and new content and stuff to it, and I think a big part of it, I didn't play it, but I just heard that it was very on the nose in terms of kind of making fun of like parodying games and DLC and doing updates for things.
That's funny.
So that makes sense that. Like I think at some point there's just a big sign that's like new content through this door. So you just like walk through a door to go access some of the new stuff. So I think that would be pretty cool. At some point I'll check that out. When I have the itching to go back for that game, I think that's the way to do it, through that new version, which I don't know how much it adds, but I think probably a decent amount to go back and get your fix for it.
Yeah. And was it Superliminal?
Superliminal?
Yeah, is that the one that you mentioned was somewhat similar to that sort of idea, or am I totally in the wrong wheelhouse?
Yeah,
here?
I mean, I guess it's a fourth wall-y sort of game. It's more of a puzzle game. I guess Stanley Parable is, but I don't even know. Stanley Parable, what genre would you call that? Would you call that a puzzle game?
Walking sim, narration sim, something.
Yeah, just a joke. It's just a joke generator. I don't even know.
It's a joke generator.
Yeah, Superliminal is much more of a puzzle game.
Okay.
Yeah. The
cool.
game's decent. It's okay. It's no Stanley Parable.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. How about we take our next break and we'll get back and talk about some Marvel Snap. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. So, another game that both of us have been playing is Marvel
Hell yeah.
Snap. What is your ritual for this game? Do you play every day? Do you play a few times a week? Do you jump in a couple times a month? What's your current status with it?
I had taken a little bit of a hiatus, I think, at the start of the last Battle Pass, like the one that just ended. I can't remember if it was
The
that
Thunderbolts
point.
one or before that?
Which one was before that? Was
Avengers
it...
versus X-Men, I think.
Oh, okay.
Where it had Hope Summers, it had they added War Machine, they added Pixie.
See, I don't even really remember that one actually.
Okay,
too
so
much.
that was probably the
I
one
might
you
have just
jumped out for.
I might have just missed that whole era of that Battle Pass, but no, I was playing. I think last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I jumped in again. Not really like daily, but like I would boot up and just kind of do.
I'm
like,
happy
maybe,
for you
maybe a
that you
hand.
aren't addicted to the daily grind of it,
Yeah.
like some other unnamed people.
Absolutely. I feel like it goes in waves though. Like maybe if I get a new card and then I make a new deck like with it, I just can't put the game down. Like
Yeah,
I'm like
for sure.
cooking and doing it, and then I'm like, oh, I can totally multitask with this game, and maybe I'm watching something that I haven't looked at in forever because I'm really focused on my my current hand that I'm doing. But
Yeah.
no, this last week I feel like I haven't been addicted to it, but I've definitely played every day, a couple
Nice.
hands here and there. And I mentioned to you off cast that I feel like I gotta. Well, I didn't mention this off cast. I feel like I have to change my spotlight key cache strategy. Whereas
Okay.
I'm a player that's pretty new to it. Like there's still a lot of cards that I haven't come across in it. So
Yeah.
it's like anytime I get it, I kind of just open it right away because pretty much don't have any of the cards in the cache
Yeah.
anyways. But man, there's been a couple times where I've cashed in my key, and then like the next spotlight cache that comes out is like a card, and I like it's not a guarantee I'm gonna get the card that I see that I want, but it's like I wish I had like 2 keys right now to just spam on this one.
chance.
Like this is some good stuff, or maybe even like a cool variant of a card that I do
Yeah.
use in there. And it's just like I think I
It's-
gotta hold back a little bit on my key usage, and I've realized that on the most recent one because I
Mhm.
of course told you this off cast, but no, I had. I think it was Null, Blob, Valentina maybe
Valentina
was
was the new
the
card
third
last
one.
week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was really hoping for Null just because I've been wanting to get him because I really like those. I guess just the decks that he can synergize with really well, like a destroy deck or something. That's probably been my most played. Destroy or a move deck has been
Okay.
probably my most played that I've ever done. Not necessarily just the one deck, but like variations of that sort of style.
Yeah.
And I've always been wanting to add Null to my list, and I saw him on there. I'm like, I'm fucking grinding for this. I'm totally gonna get him. I did it as soon as I hit the button. I this is probably not true, but in my mind, the second I hit the button, Blob just like popped in my brain, and then that was the one that I got. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I knew it as soon as I hit the button. I knew it was gonna be Blob, and that's who I got.
Yeah.
I was so mad at myself. So I'm still on the search
that's
for
annoying.
Null. And of course the cache just reset. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, the Spotlight cache system, it's good and it's bad. I think it's one of those things where, like, since they added it, like the rate at which you get new cards is vastly improved. That is true unless you kind of maybe play it like you a little bit and just kind of take a chance on a gamble.
Yeah.
It sounds like in this case, no matter what, you would have got a new card. So that's
Yep.
great.
That's been the
But
case every time that I've used
Yeah.
it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I think for some people where they maybe have the 2 other kind of older cards and they just want the new one and they only have 1 key and they drop their key on it, like, do not do that. That is not, like, that is just gambler's fallacy right there. That's not worth it. Ultimately, the best way to work with the system is build up 4 keys, and then when there's a week where there's, in your case, I would say, like, wait until there's a week where there's 3 cards you don't have, and then there's always
okay.
that kind of random slot too, which for
Yeah.
you is probably going to be a lot of them right now. And so for you, it's like, it's good value. If you save up with those 4 keys, if you're aiming for Null, you have 4 keys. At some point, you will get Null, and maybe, hopefully, you get them on your first pull, and then you've saved the 3 keys, and you can save those for a week that you actually care about more.
Yeah.
But let's say it does take you all 4 to get Null. Well, at least you got 2 other new cards along the way, plus maybe that 4th hidden slot, which can be tokens, or it could be a new card depending on where you're at with it.
Yeah.
So for me at this point, like, I have so many cards that very rarely does a week have 3 cards that I don't have. It just doesn't really happen that often. This coming week is 2 cards I don't have, like the new card, and then Kiara, I think is her name. He's like the from the Hulk.
I actually
season
have
there.
her, so that's funny.
Right. It's funny how it works. Yeah, like I think that's kind of their intention is that people will have different collections. I think that's something they want in terms of balance of like people will have different decks because they have different compositions they can make. So yeah, I don't have that card that you have, even though I have, like 50 more cards than you do or something
Yeah,
like
probably.
that. But that's just how the system works. So I think I will be, I have 4 or 5 saved up right now in terms of keys. And I think I'll use them this week because it's pretty efficient for me to do so on this week.
Yeah.
And we'll see what that mystery slot gives me. But then like the rate at which it, like if you're playing if you're doing your dailies every single day for an entire month, you'll get essentially 1 key every week is how it works. So
wow.
essentially, that system I just mentioned, you'll only build up 4 keys over the course of an entire month, which is like, it becomes a lot. And then, you will get lucky sometimes. Maybe you'll get that first pull null, and then you can save those 3 keys. For you, you've kind of almost like, I don't know, gained the efficiency of multiple weeks because of that. But then other weeks, it's not going to be that way because it is a gamble at the end of the day. So it's not a great system in that way, where for me, it usually ends up being that I don't get a new card for like a month. But then in the course of a week or two, I'll get like 5 new cards or something. So I wish it was a bit more drip feed where I could get a card every week. But because of the randomness of the system, it doesn't really make any sense for me to drop 1 key every week that I'd be getting every week to try and get like the new card or a card I don't have. It just doesn't really work like that. So yeah, it's not a great system. And I feel bad for you with Null because that's a character. I think that might be the most common card that's popped up in the spotlights since they added that system. For whatever reason, they just have all these Null variants that they want to give out. So they just keep having them in there. The other thing too, that like because of the system, as I just mentioned, where it takes like a month, like you can look up like on the website here, this is like data mine, so it's not 100% confirmed content, but like there's data mine content here up until the spotlight of the first week of August. So you can really plan ahead.
Oh wow.
In terms of like what the spotlights are going to be for. I mean, in the weekly or I guess every month when they do the update for the new season, they'll show you what the spotlights are going to be for that month. But yeah, this goes like out sometimes 3 months in advance.
Oh wow.
So you can really plan it. You can really okay, I'm going to hold my keys for the week of like June 3rd. And for some people that's going to completely turn you off from playing the game because like I don't want to have to wait a whole month and I have to play this time, level up to get the cards I want. But that's just kind of how it is. So you kind of got to play the game if you want to be the most efficient with how you get cards. Now, if you don't care as much and you just want to mess around, then do whatever the hell you want. But that's kind of how it works. So it's I don't know. There's pros and cons to this system. Then there is tokens on the side where you can just buy cards outright. But like it takes so long to get 6,000 tokens to get a new card, and very rarely are they dropping cards from like the tiers. So most of them are going to be 6,000 tokens. Eventually, they do drop them down to 3,000 each, but they do that so infrequently that it's like not really something you can count on, which is unfortunate. And then that's it, or just buying the season pass, then you get that 1 new card every month. So that's kind of the 3 ways to get cards. I guess once you're Series 3 complete, which I think you are now, right? Or
I am not actually.
You're not. You're still working.
They're still quite.
So you also get your monthly free card.
Yeah,
which obviously Noel would not pop in there because he's not a Series 3.
Have you used 15 hours remaining till I get it. So tomorrow I can jump into that. But
right,
I'm pretty like religious with that. Even when I'm not playing,
That's
like
good.
I'll pop in there just to make sure that I am like min-maxing my
Very
collection
smart.
on there.
Very smart.
There's been some really great cards that I've gotten throughout it, and it's funny. There's certain like cards that maybe like months ago I'm like I want that card so bad. Like please give me that card. I think Spider-Man 2099 like that was one of them. Got it. Had it on like one deck and I really liked it, and then I was just like, I'm not really feeling like this deck right now. Like,
have you used him since they changed his stats?
I don't think so. No,
because originally he was a 4/6, I think, and now he's a 5/9. So he costs 1 more, but he has 9 power now.
Okay, no, I actually have not added him to a
you
deck
should try him out again because
so I'll try him
he's a card that the community still insists is really bad. And I think the unfortunate part about him, because when I read the card description, I was like, oh, that's a cool ability. But I thought it meant that like every time he moves to a location,
just
like the first time he moves there, he would get a kill. But it's only the first time he moves at all, so you only get 1 proc of it. But now that he's a 5/9, it's like even if you're hitting a bad card that only has like 2 power, that's still like a 5/11 if you think about it. Like that's pretty damn good stats for a card. And since he's less than 10, he can't get hit by Shang-Chi, which is really great. So I actually think he's really good. I think he's very underrated.
Nice.
I think Move as an archetype is like one of the weaker ones. So in that way, it's like his ceiling's going to be a bit lower. But since you're
Yeah.
a move, it sounds like you're a move fan. You should definitely check him out again because I have him in almost every move deck I use. I think he's really fun and he's a surprise. No one expects him. No one sees him coming either. So sometimes if someone has a solo like character in a lane, you can just get a guaranteed kill on like potentially really good cards. So it can work out.
No, I'll definitely try it out. I feel like I do really like the move archetypes, but I think I just kind of overdid it too much. Like I didn't love the whole planning of like where I'm gonna be putting my cloak character. Or, like
it's
dropping,
harder. It's a harder archetype than almost any other type, and really location dependent.
Oh, absolutely, and especially like certain locations can just destroy your whole strategy. That's when you just retreat like right at the start of the match. It's like
thankfully there are a lot of good. Like I feel like destroy and move have like the most locations that are relevant to them specifically. But then with move as well, like sometimes you just really need all that extra space to make your combos happen, and you'll just get screwed over by all sorts of things. So that retreat button, always press away.
No, 100%. So I was and like just like the other spider cards too, like those are ones that I'm still on the pursuit for. I mentioned, well, I guess Null's kind of a spider character, not so much, but
I guess so,
like Ghost Spider, Spider Gwen, like I really want that card
great,
still. Don't have her. Silk is another one, just because I've learned a little bit more about that character, dove into the comics, so I really want to get Silk just the I don't even know what her card is, but I just want to have her to my collection. Spider-Man, I have Miles now. I think that's one that I got. I might have used my tokens actually for that one. That one like popped up and right away I snagged him. Haven't used him too much since. Like even like his what's it called? His like level, like it's still gray or whatever. Like I haven't really leveled him up at all. Like the what's that called? The booster level, I guess. Yeah, the border. So I'm kind of just wanting to collect my spider characters, not necessarily use them. But I feel like if I have just all of them, I would probably just use the spider deck and go that route.
I usually have a couple move decks that I like to jump between, like one more about like moving my own cards, and then I do like a deck based around like moving my opponent's cards as well. Who do I have in my current? Like I do have Spider-Man 99, Ghost Spider. I mean, Iron Fist is going to be like in every move deck. Yeah, pretty much. Craven, Kingpin.
You do use Kingpin, eh? I've never used them before. I guess he would be really good for when you move. They also changed him at one point too. So he might be different than what you remember his ability to be. When an enemy card moves here, afflict it with -2 power, and he's a 2/3. So they did change his ability at some point. That is new. That's new than
what
I remember.
He used to kill cards on turn 6, I think, only.
That's what I thought, yeah.
So he's a bit more... He's kind of like the opposite of Craven now.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can... And it only hits enemy cards, which is nice. So even if you're moving into your own lane, you're not going to get debuffed there. So yeah, I like using different ones like that. And then I like Phoenix Force, which I'm guessing you don't have, but that's a very fun...
I do have Phoenix Force, actually.
Oh, you do?
That was one that I had got like right away because I was super pumped on it. And I'm like, this doesn't fit any deck, like any cards that I have. I don't know how to best utilize this. I don't know. What would you do for Phoenix Force?
So Phoenix Force is a fun card because it is kind of a hybrid between like a destroy deck and a move deck, which is a fun hybrid to have. But the thing with Phoenix Force is you revive a card and then you can move every turn. So there's kind of 3 cards that really benefit from that. One is Human Torch, because every time Human Torch moves, doubles his power. Plus, with Phoenix Force, when he revives Human Torch, you'll be at 7 power. So you start with 7.
Jeez.
And then in theory, if you do that on turn 4, because Phoenix Force costs 4, next turn you'll move, that'll be up to 14 power, and then after that, up to 28. So that can be really, really good if you can pull that off. The other one would be Multiple Man. If you move him every turn and he has 8 power from the Phoenix Force, then that's just 8 power you move in. Once you've moved it once, then you have 2 of them on the map too. So you can move them and just get all sorts of power. And then, I don't know if you noticed, but they changed Dagger at some point too, where she's now a 2/0, but she gains 3 power every time she moves. So if you put her the Phoenix Force, or she gets 3 power for each enemy card at a location. So she can get, if there's 4 enemy cards somewhere, you just get 12 power. And you can just move her multiple times as well. So the deck is pretty much... I have those 3 in there. I have Ghost Spider and Human Torch Ghost Spider and Iron Fist just to get cards moving. I have Carnage and Venom. So the idea is on turn 1 or 2, you're going to play Dagger, Multiple Man, or Human Torch, and then kill them on turn 2 or 3 with Venom or Carnage, whatever one you draw. And then turn 4, Phoenix Force, and then just start popping off. And then in that one, I do have Spider-Man 2099 as well, just as another backup option. You're never going to revive him with Phoenix Force, but more maybe I can get a kill off with him on turn 6.
Mm-hmm.
Then I also really like having... do you have Taskmaster?
Yes, I do.
Because he works really well too, where Phoenix Force, spawn that in, get that 28 power with Human Torch, and then just copy that 28 power. So now you have 28 power in 2 lanes.
I've
really
never used
stuff.
Taskmaster before. Yeah, you're inspiring me here. I feel like
you should. I'll send you this deck list. You don't have
Definitely.
Ghost Spider and you don't have Nico either, right?
No, Nico's another one I really want to get.
But then you have the rest of this deck, so you can do a couple tweaks.
I could probably throw like Vulture in there, hey? Because Vulture doesn't he get like +5 when he moves? I think.
Yeah, so he'd probably have a bit of a lower ceiling than Dagger, Multiple Man, or Human Torch. But worst case scenario,
I got those.
Plus, even if you like use the Phoenix Force on someone else, you're still gonna be playing turns 5 and 6, and so Vulture could be a good one there. And I guess you could throw Heimdall in there if you want as a turn 6 finisher.
That's been like my creme de la creme on my.
He's the classic go-to.
Yeah.
I think there's kind of better plays usually for a move deck, but he's still just... And he's so uncommon now. He was like very popular early on, but now there's so many other move cards that I feel like people moved away from him. So now he kind of like becomes kind of an underdog pick again. So I'll send you this deck list, but you should use it because Phoenix Force is a really fun kind of move sub-archetype there that I've found a lot of success with. And people... It's pretty uncommon. Like, people don't really see it coming either. The only thing you really have to be careful of is when you play Human Torch, if your opponent plays Killmonger, that can just ruin your day. Because obviously you do want Human Torch to die once and then get revived. But if they play like a game Killmonger, that's like retreat territory. So that's the only risky thing. But then again, you have Dagger and Multiple Man as like the other potential ones you can play. And those ones will not get hit by Killmonger. So yeah, really, really fun deck. Really like that one.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, you're definitely inspiring me here. I got a couple cards that I've when I first saw them, I was like, I can't wait to get those cards. And now that I've had them, I feel like I've never used them at all and they just don't fit. And like maybe I just have certain cards that I need to like acquire to like really make them worth it. Like Thanos is one I've been wanting to get ever since I got that Kyra type character because she makes it so
nice synergy.
Yeah, 1 and 6 are like immortal, but utilize all those Infinity Stones, but I don't have Thanos, unfortunately. So haven't used her too much. I had her kind of an experimental deck. I think I was talking to you guys about it on the Discord where I had like Nick Fury with her because he could just call in these like 6 costs. Yeah. And that's where I'm getting like She-Hulk and almost call him Skrull, Scar.
Right, you're gonna try the other 6 costs that you don't have.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's kind of like a gamble deck because I'm like really dependent on who I acquire, but it makes it pretty fun in that sense.
Yeah, that one I think with her too. Another deck is just like they call it like a zoo deck, which is essentially like a bunch of 1-cost cards, and then like have Khazar and Blue Marvel in there because they buff. Yeah. I mean, Khazar buffs the 1 cost. Blue Marvel gives everyone +1 power. Yeah. And it's kind of just about like you want to have 12 cards on the field by the end of the game. You just want to have a ton of people out, and then she helps keep all of them alive. So that's kind of a nice potential synergy there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I was gonna say. So Ronan the Accuser, that's one that I really wanted to get. I think it was like the 24-hour stream or something when I had asked you, I'm like, what's the point of Master Mold? Like, why would anyone want Master Mold? And then you had told me of Ronan the Accuser. I'm like, I really want to try that. I have Master Mold and Ronan the Accuser, and I'm still just like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to make a deck with those characters. I feel like I don't have a lot of other like supplemental characters that go well with them, but...
Do you have Maximus?
No. Okay. So every time I've looked up a deck,
he's a really good one.
I think Maximus is like on the recommended, and
because he's like giving 2 cards to your opponent, really good. But he also has 6 power and he's a 2 cost. Yeah. Especially if you can play that on the last turn, that's really good. And then what's his name? Who's the Doctor Strange guy who's like in Multiverse Madness and he like drugs Doctor Strange?
Baron Mordo.
Right? Yeah, Baron Mordo.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you have him in your collection?
I do. I've never really used him.
Yeah, so he works well in that kind of deck as well.
What does he even do? I haven't really
He makes your opponent draw a card, but then it changes the cost to 6. So can make.
Oh, okay.
It can. It's one of those ones where like you're never really gonna see when it works well, right? Because your opponent's just not going to play that card. So it's like, it's one of those ones like Iceman as well. Like Iceman, I imagine in my mind is like one of the best cards because it just screws over your opponent's ability to like conveniently get cards out messes up their plans. But like you'll very rarely see the card that you actually hit, so you don't really know for sure like if you screwed them over. But yeah, he works well in that kind of deck. But yeah, Master Mold is like essential with Ronin. So if you have him, that's good. And then I guess I would just recommend like if you can do Master Mold and then hit Master Mold again with Absorbing Man, who copies like on reveals or like doubles an on reveal, or like even an Odin or something like that, and like makes that effect hit multiple times, that can be really strong. Ronin as well, like Ronin turn 5 into a what's his name, Taskmaster once again turn 6, if like your Ronin just has a shit ton of power, can be a really nice combo as well. So another potential there.
Yeah, no, great advice. I'm gonna keep going down these cards that I've just never touched. Super Scroll.
Yeah, I mean, that one's really luck dependent on like if your opponent has good.
I usually avoid those cards. The ones that are like really dependent on something. Like even like I just unlocked Rogue, which I thought was gonna be really exciting. And like what, she just copies the ongoing.
She steals an ongoing from an opponent. Okay. But
same
it's a
sort of
random
idea.
One, so yeah.
And like super like hard counter decks too that like really focus on countering maybe an on reveal or an ongoing deck. Like I'm just like, I don't know. I don't really want to run that gamble. Usually
it's like, okay, you have a deck that maybe only requires like 10 cards and you have a couple extra like kind of quote unquote flex spots, and that's where you'd put in those what are kind of called like tech cards that are kind of just good all-arounders. But yeah, I very rarely use Super Scroll, but you know, if your opponent plays a Iron Man or something, like it can be super powerful. But yeah, if your opponent plays none, then you just are sitting there twiddling your thumbs the whole time. So I mean, really good actually against an opponent playing a null. If you can copy that effect and just get a ton of power on him, that can be pretty nice. Point. So yeah,
because it removes the effect right from the other.
No, he just copies it. Rogue steals it.
Okay, Rogue steals it. Okay.
He copies it. Enchantress kills all the effects. Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Negative, I've tried to dabble into making a negative deck, but that's another one. I'm like, I need null. I need null in there for the.
He's very specific. Yeah, like you kind of need. You need like Zabu and like Psylocke and Ravonna, in my opinion, because they all
don't have those.
Yeah, they'll all let you get him out on turn 3, which just makes it like so much more efficient to get an extra draw of like the really powerful cards. So yeah, if you don't have like. Yeah, you're gonna have all 3 of those cards. You're only ever gonna play one, but you just need all 3 just to increase your chances. So that one's more finicky, and they've changed some cards recently that worked well with him. So he's he always kind of comes and goes. It's a fun archetype though.
Yeah, when I was really excited to get X23 added her, and I feel like most of the time, like I kind of substitute her for like different cards. I don't know if it's just because I get more value out of the other ones. Like to me, like the best version of those cards, whether it's like Sabretooth, Wolverine, her, is Wolverine in my opinion. I just feel like he's just the most effective. I feel like a lot of the time when I get that extra energy from her, like it's just I don't know. It's I don't really feel the effect.
Not being put anywhere.
Exactly, but like Wolverine, you know, if he gets destroyed or discarded like multiple times, like right away, like he's starting to rack up pretty quickly. So really liked him, and
I think with X23. I think one of the main, just generally having extra power in general can be useful in all situations. But I think the primary, really strong interaction is if you can use it on, get her hit on turn 4, so that on turn 5 you could play Null, the 6 cost, and then on turn 6 hit Null with Arnim Zola and duplicate 2 Nulls out on the board. That's the ideal situation. So I feel like that's where one thing that can be really great for her is the ability to kind of play 2 6-cost cards in a game, but that also is very dependent on getting the right draws and the turn order and stuff. So I usually will throw her in there, but I have not played much Destroy in the last few months. It's been not necessarily my top archetype. So, but yeah, she's cool. She's fun.
A couple more I wanted to ask you about was Arrow. That was another card I was really looking forward to getting. I think she was one of the first icons that you just have unlocked in the game, and I'm like, what character is this? This looks cool. And then I just never had the card. Got the card. She's like a 5/9, I think.
5/9 and moves the last played enemy card to her location.
Yeah. Kind of like a Magneto effect a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. She's very underwhelming. The idea is if you have you have a Craven out there, you have a Kingpin out there, you can drag a card into your lane, you can screw someone over. I think there's just better cards at this point. Like she's kind of an older one, and someone like Cannonball who came out recently has like a similar effect that's just like better in almost every situation. It's like, I don't know, it needs to do something like it guarantees a movement on a card. 'Cause sometimes you just play it, and I don't know, someone will play a card at the same location as her, and so like her ability just does nothing. So I don't know, she's kind of underwhelming. I think she could use an update or a change personally. So I wouldn't worry too much about her in your move decks. I'd try and make if you're looking at 5/9, I'd go for 2099 over her for sure.
Okay, good to know. I think that was all of them. I had to double check because you said Cannonball. I thought for a second I had unlocked.
He's very new. He came out like 3 weeks ago or something like that. So you probably he was in that X-Men Avengers season, so you probably did not see him.
Oh, okay, yeah. Unfortunately missed him. What was the last two? Oh yeah, for like the Goblin deck, like the Goblin cards. I've always wanted to like try with them, but I don't know. I've never really attempted. Have you had any success with those ones?
Yeah.
Where you give them a negative card?
Yeah, I think they have their uses for sure. I really like them. I mean, they're really great with Galactus. That's like their primary thing.
Okay.
But I feel like that kind of became a bit too obvious whenever you would be going for that sort of strategy. And I feel like they're just very risky now because whenever Annihilus, I think is his name, whenever he came out a few months ago, he sends all cards with 0 or less power from your side of the board to the opposite. So if you spent turn 3 and 5 sending over a Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, if your opponent plays Annihilus, they just send him right back. So that card is just common enough that like I don't really think they have much of a place right now until there's like some other sort of counter to that. Annihilus is like a very strong and, in my opinion, quite annoying card. Maybe I just don't have him, so I'm salty when he gets played against me. But yeah, I think there are some potential uses for him. Usually it's just like some decks really want to fill up the whole board. They just need space. And so if you can throw cards over there that are getting in your opponent's face, that can be pretty annoying at times. So yeah. They're decent, but I think they're maybe a little bit weaker right now just because of the popularity of Annihilus.
Yeah, that's fair. All right,
you mentioned that you got
last two. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Last two, really quickly. One of the most recent one I got was Silver Samurai, which I thought was great because
I was going to ask. I was just about to ask you about him, so I'm glad you mentioned him. Do you use discard much?
I really love discard decks.
Okay,
actually,
cool.
my current one that I'm running right now is a discard deck.
Who's it got in it?
I actually just realized Silver Samurai isn't in here. I don't know. Maybe I was experimenting.
Yeah.
I had this is a weird deck. Maybe I just made this one. I have Blade, Morbius, Wolverine, Swarm, Gambit, Lady Sif, Swordmaster, Jubilee, Ghost Rider, Apocalypse, Magneto, and the Infinite. I think the Infinite pick is for Jubilee, probably.
Yeah, or discard it and then pull it back with Ghost Rider, I guess.
Yeah, no, exactly. And this one I think I just tweaked this last night because I was trying to just really optimize the discard. I find it just a little bit more consistent than what I was trying before, but I really like discard decks, but I got to throw Samurai back in here.
Yeah, Samurai, because it sounds like with that deck, he'll very consistently hit Swarm, which is great. Also, I mean, X-23 could be a good addition to that one. Because she'll very often get hit by Samurai, and that's like a nice consistent effect to be able to hit. Like that would be once again that kind of synergy of turn 4 play Samurai, hit her, and then turn 5 you could play a 6-cost card if you. I don't think you had Infinite, and what are the other 6 costs? Did you have any other ones in there?
Magneto and Apocalypse.
Right. So yeah, I guess Magneto would be a good potential turn, but you'd probably want to more discard him and then spawn him back, right?
Yeah.
Ghost Rider. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the ideal.
Yeah, I really like Silver Samurai. Plus, he screws over your opponent too. So I think it's a good 2-for-1 in that way. So yeah, I like him. I like him more than Moon Knight, who he's very similar to Moon Knight's ability, but just a bit more consistent. So he's definitely in my main discard deck for sure.
Would you take out Morbius out of this? Like,
no,
is Morbius
I think
strong of a character?
Really good. Yeah, Morbius. Okay. What is it? 2 power for each discard that you've done. So
yeah, he's a 2/0, but +2 for each each time you discarded a card.
Yeah, you don't have MODOK, eh?
No, I don't have MODOK.
Yeah, for me that was like, I don't know, that felt like the moment I was looking for in discard. I did not really play that archetype like at all in the first few months of me playing, but then when I got MODOK, it like unlocked all these different possibilities. He's just so good. Be able to hit like a Apocalypse and Swarm on turn 5 and get a bunch of stuff for a big turn 6 is really satisfying. So yeah, that's what I'd recommend when you get him, to put him in there. But no, I think Morbius is a really good one to have in there for you.
Okay, cool.
If anyone, I would maybe take out Gambit.
Magneto?
Maybe Magneto actually.
Yeah.
Because you're almost, if you want those like high power cards that you're gonna try and discard and then revive, that maybe works more better with like a Hela deck sort of style.
Okay. I don't have her, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a missing piece as well. But I'd maybe take him out, but I don't know who I'd replace him with right now. Thinking about who you have unlocked right now.
You mentioned Gambit. Why would you take him out? Just
because the consistency, you don't know who he's going to discard, and that can sometimes be unfortunate. I mean, once again, you do have Ghost Rider in your deck, so maybe it's actually not much of a problem, because if you discard someone that you wanted, then you can just play Ghost Rider next turn. So maybe if you do got Ghost Rider, you could leave him in there. I guess for me, it's just Gambit, like the randomness of it, that if you're only going to get one hit, it's like,
It's usually a pathetic takeout too. Like maybe I'm taking out fucking squirrel or something, right? Like
exactly. You might hit a rock or a squirrel, and that can be unfortunate. And then
I think I just wanted him in there because X-Men 97. I think I was just like, I've never had Gambit on a deck. We got to get him in here.
But yeah, with the prominence, like I feel like at least half the games I play right now are against destroy decks. They're just everywhere in this like last month or so. So I feel like that's also one of those things where you just, oftentimes you might just be helping your opponent if you smack smack a Wolverine or a, I don't know, X-23 or something like that. I mean, you could hit a Venom after he's been juiced up too, so that could be pretty useful, but just
that's a good
potential risk there. So I don't know. I mean, that's one of those situations. If you're playing against a destroy player, you just not play him in that game, keep him in hand, play someone else. So hope he gets discarded instead.
Lady Deathstrike, that's another pretty recent character that I had added
cool.
to my destroy deck. I found her really effective because there's quite a few times because what is it? It's minus three or less is who she takes out, and there's been times when, especially like I'm usually running death in that deck. That was, I think, a series 3 that I was able to acquire, and great addition to my destroy decks. Really enjoy that card, but I was
bummed that they changed her recently.
Okay.
I think her new effect probably is maybe a bit more consistent, but before it was just like, I think she was a 5/4, 5/5. I forget what her exact stat line was, but it was like she'll kill anyone who has less power than her. So it was similar to the effect it is now, but with that one is like I would often boost her power up to be some higher number. Like
wow.
I could get it up to 8 or 9 and then just destroy all these people, and that was so satisfying. And it worked really well for me. Now I just feel like she's maybe a bit too niche, but I also haven't really tried the new version of her. So maybe I got to try her out again. I'm just still salty that they changed her. I hate when they change a card. Like they did this with Crystal too, where a very underused card, like no one's using them. But I have like a very niche use for it where it works really well for me. But then because no one's using the card, they like change it. But then they change it to some other ability that like no one really cares about or uses anyway. So I'm like, what are you even doing here? Just let me live. Let me use the card that I'm excited to use, even if I'm maybe in the small minority of people actually like, having use with it.
Man, that was like me with America Chavez. I feel like I haven't used her once since the change.
She was like the linchpin of my discard deck. I would never play her, but she just made it so consistent. Yeah, she was so good. But I understand why they made that change to her. I like her new ability, but her old ability was just the consistency special. It was great.
No, absolutely. I wanted one last question for you.
Yes, please.
This card, I remember you talking about him on a previous Marvel Snap Talk that was just incredibly overbuffed or just overused, but I just got the Blob as my my spotlight spotlight cash. Mm-hmm. Does he have any use right now? Would he fit in any cards that I have? Is it worth it?
Yeah, he got a nerf, which was well deserved because he's fucking overpowered as hell when he first came out. It was insane. That was like the most overtuned card I think I've ever seen in the time that I've been playing. They've nerfed him, but he's still really good. He's still really consistent. Because he has 6-0 now, right?
Yeah, 6-0, and then
so he actually has potential.
He absorbs until he gets to 15, and then that's
right. That
was
they put that cap on him there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually potentially has good potential in a Mr. Negative deck potentially because when you flip him around, he'll cost 0. But I think generally where you want to play him is in a deck with big cards like Giganto and Infinite and Magneto, Red Skull, Destroyer, like those kind of cards. And ideally, he just eats a whole bunch of them. And then the kind of go-to combo is, once again, the card that you've overlooked is Taskmaster, where if you can, obviously you're going to need some sort of energy manipulation to be able to play Blob on turn 5. But if you do that with, you don't have Psylocke, you said, right?
I don't know.
So maybe Electro, you have Electro in your collection?
Yeah, I got Electro.
So maybe Electro, turn 5, Blob, ideally, he'll get to 15 or whatever anyway. And then turn 6, you can hit him with Taskmaster to copy that somewhere else. Because sometimes, because of how Blob's card works, is let's say he got built up to 14 power from different cards in your deck, but then Infinite was the next card he'd eat, he'd still be at, whatever that equals.
34, right? It's
yeah,
plus 20
he'd still
Infinite?
equal that amount because of how the math of it works.
Right.
So he can still be insane on the value. And if
I
you
guess
have
I
a
didn't
deck,
think about that, actually.
yeah, and if you have a deck that has exclusively really big cards, that can work out. So the only downside is that Taskmaster situation. Well, I guess it's actually different now too, because before he would eat your deck and it would be gone, but now since he only eats a certain amount, you can still get a draw on if you play after him,
Okay.
So yeah, but that's the thing. You'd want to make sure you have Taskmaster in your hand before you drop him down. So that would be one situation, but also just why not drop him on turn 6, get a huge amount of power. He's kind of like Red Hulk. I don't know if you've bumped into Red Hulk at all, but it's just
I have, yeah.
Just a 6-cost card that has way too much power and no reason to have that much power. It's crazy. Very overpowered card as well.
Absolutely.
So I think Blob is still good. I don't think he's overpowered ananymore.
That's good.
He also would be great to have with Kiara. I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Okay.
Put her in that deck as well. Play her on turn 3, because that way he's probably always going to have enough power to get hit by Shang-Chi, and then she can help prevent that. So that'd be a good combo as well. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks for the tips. That's awesome. I just got a bunch of ideas now. I think I'm gonna make 3 or 4 decks as soon as we end,
man.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah. Very exciting.
Stuff like that is what really just gets the itch again, and I'm that's where I'm just hooked. I'm just playing the game constantly. I'm I really have to go to bed right now, but one more turn.
Yeah.
Let's see.
No, that's I was joking about the addiction to it. But it's it is a great game. It's really fun. There's so much variety. There's so many cards, and they add a new card every single week, new locations every month. So it's always keeping it fresh, and the meta's always changing. They're always balancing, changing cards. And yeah, in some cases, they'll take away Lady Deathstrike from me, even though I loved her ability. And other times, they buff a card and it gets a really cool new ability. Like when they changed Spider-Man back in the day, and he was a really annoying card, but now he's a really fun move card. So they do that too. So it's just very fresh for me. I was going to shout out a couple decks, but I feel like we kind of got some good combo there. I think the one thing I want to shout out is my MVP favorite card of the last couple months, kind of 2 cards, is Quake and Legion. You probably have Quake in your collection, but probably not Legion.
Don't have either of those, actually. I've come across Legion, but yeah.
She's a Series 3, so you should be getting her soon enough here.
Okay.
But yeah, they changed her at some point, so now wherever you play her on reveal, she flips the other 2 locations. And then Legion, have you bumped into Legion? Do you know what he does?
Is he the one that he'll turn the other locations into his location?
Exactly.
Okay, I used him yesterday in my Nick Fury
nice.
deck, so there you go.
Oh, perfect. Wait, from Nick Fury?
No, sorry.
He's a 5-cost.
Coulson.
From Coulson.
There you go.
Okay,
Agent
yeah,
Coulson.
nice. Good stuff. Yeah, no, he's just so fun, and both those cards have won me so many games just on their own, where, there's the location that, whoever has the least power here wins that location, and be able to flip that with Quake on someone is so satisfying.
The bar that goes to nowhere, whatever the fuck it's called. I
fucking
hate that location.
Bar with no name. But
as soon as I see that in the first location, retreat. I'm out of there. Screw this.
And the amount of games I won, because Limbo, or Magic rather, playing Limbo, a really, really common play. And when my opponent drops that Limbo down, and I come in there, I save Legion till turn 6, play him somewhere else, take away that Limbo, and they've been waiting for that turn 7
That's
big play,
awesome.
but now the game's just over. The amount of games I've won with that alone, and every time it's so satisfying. So, the deck I've been using is really just like kind of based on a lot of info. Like I have Howard the Duck in there who shows your next draw. I have Daredevil in there who shows you what your opponent's going to do on turn 5. Mixed with those, the ability to morph and change locations, not morph the character, but changing locations has been like really, really fun. A really kind of fluid deck. Doesn't really have much of an archetype to it. It's really just like good cards mixed with specifically Legion and Quake, and that has given me a lot of wins. So that's been super, super fun. But yeah, I've just been having a great time playing the game. I got Valentina last week, who's fun. Fun new card to play with. And so I just wanted to do a quick preview, I guess, of this month of new cards that are coming out here, which is something I want to do more. Hopefully we can maybe kind of at the start of every month, we can reconvene on a side quest and just kind of do a breakdown of the new cards that are kind of going to come out. I think it'd be a fun thing to do.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, have you looked into these new cards that are coming out here in the next few weeks? You check out that video?
I watched the video that you sent.
Nice.
Yeah, we got, going off my memory here. We've got Blink.
Yes, Blink's the Seasons Pass card.
Okay.
So I don't know how I feel about her because she's an on reveal. You play her, she's 5'7", I think, and then whatever the last card you played swaps with a higher cost card in your deck. So in theory, you could get a cheap 6 cost card out. But it's one that doesn't actually inspire a lot of like immediate deck ideas for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I feel about that one. Does that one intrigue you at all? I like the character. That's one thing I do want it just for the character.
You were shouting out Blink not too
Show
long ago.
Blink.
I can't remember what it was.
I don't know what I don't know what the context was, but just I've always I haven't even really much exposure to her, but just from what Days of Future Past or whatever that scene is, I just thought she was so cool. So yeah. I don't know how I feel about that ability though. It doesn't excite me as much.
Yeah, it didn't really do too much for. I feel like most of the ones actually that were shown here, they didn't do too much. I feel like I'm just still so bitter of my no null. No null acquisition. I was
Nullless.
just kicking dust today.
I actually agree with you. I think this is maybe for the first month this year. This is the first like really underwhelming season for me, and I think I'll probably try and take a step back for a little bit here. But also coming out, I guess the day this episode drops is Nocturne, which is cool. This character, which I looked into, is like the child of Nightcrawler and Scarlet Witch from like a certain comic book series, which is really cool. So her ability is she's a 3/5. She can move once, and then every time she moves, even beyond that once, she will change the location that she moves to. So obviously she gets that one free move, so you could change whatever location you want. But then you could pull her with Gwen or move her again with Iron Fist, I guess, something like that, or Heimdall, and get her to change multiple locations. So I kind of like the chaos of this. You don't know what you're going to get, but like I said, a lot of locations in the game are good for move players, so that could be kind of a fun strategy as well. But I think she seems like a lot of fun. I think I'm going to use my keys this week because I don't have Kiara, as I mentioned, so that's a pretty efficient week for me to get those 2 cards for my 4 keys here. So I think I'm going to pick her up, and I think she seems like a good fun addition. I don't know how like good or meta she'll be, but also the idea to just like move once on command, which only Nightcrawler and Jeff currently have. Like that's a nice kind of convenient ability to have, and like I said, move decks really depend on having good locations. So I think that'll be a nice kind of fun niche combo to have.
And like Vision can move on command, right? Too.
Vision can move, on command. Yeah, you're right. Once every turn. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. I'm scared to come across that because I guarantee I won't be getting this card right away. Not at my rate.
Yeah, and then next up, after the week after that, is Sage, who's a character I've never heard of. On reveal, +2 power for each different power amongst all other cards here. So that one's like almost a riddle in the way it's written, but but I think the part that I didn't think about it originally is like it means any card on either side, so your opponent or your side. So there's a really good chance for there to just be like, I don't know, a 2 power card, a 3 power, maybe a 4 or 5. Like you could really stack up the power on her, and so in that way she seems pretty good. She only costs 3. She also has 0 power as a default, so she'd actually work pretty well with like a Mr. Negative deck,
right?
As we were just talking about. So I don't think I'll be picking this one up immediately, but it seems like it has this potential, especially with like a Wong or an Odin to like activate those effects again. I think could be pretty interesting. So I might check her out in the future.
You just reminded me I don't have Wong, and that's
That's
just
heartbreaking,
crushing.
honestly.
I
He's
really
one of the
wanted
most,
to
like,
make a deck.
essential cards.
Really wanted to make a deck around him. I think it was when I unlocked Black Panther. I really wanted to get him, and then of course I was just like forcing it out there. I'm like, they're gonna give me Wong. They're gonna give me Wong, and no Wong indeed.
Yeah, man, but you can try and get him with your next month's card if you want. I guess save
true.
him. Try and wait for that rotation. It rotates every 8 hours, or is it once a day for that?
For which
For
one?
that free monthly card that you get.
Yeah, it's based on hours. It's not 24-hour period, but it's I don't know, 8 hours.
You got to check in a
like
lot
that.
though if you're trying to look for a specific
Yeah,
card, I guess.
there was one month where like I don't think I was really playing too much, but I was just checking every day for a cool card, and then I was actually getting close to like the end of it. I'm like, okay, I gotta take someone here. And I think that's when I ended up taking Phoenix Force, which I was like, it's a cool card that I don't have. I don't know how it would work with what I have. Usually,
definitely try that deck. Yeah.
Usually, I'll like take the card, Google like decks that work that synergize well with that one, and then, like, depending on how many cards I have already, usually there'll be quite a few that I don't have because they're usually like more meta cards, more like Series 5 or 4 or something. But like, as long as I can kind of swap them out for someone close to someone that I have, that's usually what I go with. But that one, I was just like, I don't know, this is a cool card, I'm gonna take it. And then I looked up decks afterwards. I'm like, this doesn't work with anyone. I guess I'm just benching this guy.
Yeah, that's too bad. The week after that is Namora.
Ooh, yeah. Namora.
She's an honorary. You'll give +5 power to each of your cards alone at another location. So obviously she pairs well with Namor and Orca, so it makes sense. There's kind of the Atlanteans.
Yeah.
How do you want to pronounce that? Those kind of cards she works well with. She also, the one thing I thought seemed kind of interesting about this is I feel like this is the first time where I think there's actually a synergy here with Venom, but a Venom outside of a Destroy deck. Just the idea of Venom to eat a bunch of cards, get a bunch of power, and then being the single guy in that lane seems like actually a really fun sort of strategy there as well. So I think the week she comes out, I don't have another card in that spotlight, so I might pick her up as well. I think initially maybe not the most exciting card for me just because like Namor and Orca aren't really that great, or it just doesn't sound that fun, honestly. Just like don't play anything, and then turn 4, play Namor. I guess you couldn't even do that. You couldn't even play her after Orca. So I don't even know. That synergy doesn't work super well together. So
yeah,
I don't know. Kind of a weird card, not super exciting. I don't think she'll be very good, but I do think her with a Venom sort of strategy could actually be pretty interesting and cool and unique. So I might try for that. But then again, it's like you're only giving Venom an extra 5 power. It's like it's not a ton.
I still don't have Venom. Rest in peace.
Oh my god!
I know,
Sometimes
man.
forget that like these feel like the most basic cards, but I guess just is how it works. You're gonna get random cards before other ones.
That was one too that I remember like early on my journey, like when I was really early on, like still getting like the set cards that like you're guaranteed to get in the beginning. I thought he was gonna be one of those because I thought he was seeing
too.
him. Yeah, I was seeing him quite early on, and then no, I still haven't gotten him.
You do have Human Torch though. We talked about him earlier, right? That's funny to me. That was the very last Series 3 card I needed. So that just goes to show how random the system is. That I wanted him for so long. It took forever, but that's one that you got.
Interesting enough, Human Torch, I feel like I kind of got in a cheat way because I got him through like a gift. I got a variant of the Human Torch. I don't even have the base of the Human Torch. I only got that variant. So, and it works great because as I was mentioning, like I've big user of the move deck, and he was like a pinnacle piece of that. Cool variant too. Yeah,
nice. Yeah, I remember that. Namora, I don't know, I'm guessing doesn't inspire much.
I never used Namor or like solo laners.
Yeah, and then the last one here is Sasquatch.
So
get Taylor involved in here. I was telling him to get in here when Scar was added, but hopefully for Sasquatch he might jump in. Sasquatch is a 6/10 and costs 1 less for each card you played last turn. So not super exciting, but I think it seems decent. This would obviously work pretty well with like a bounce style deck, like cards or a deck that's playing like a bunch of low cost cards. I'm guessing this would work really well with Mysterio, because Mysterio, you play him, he's a 2 cost, but puts 3 cards on the board, so that would take 3 cost off Sasquatch. So that could be a really, really good combo. And usually like those kind of decks don't have a big 6 cost card in them, so I think that actually is kind of a fun I turn off for that like archetype, kind of something a little bit different there. So
Yeah.
seems interesting, but once again, not super exciting. So overall, I think this month's cards are a little underwhelming for me, but that's just how it goes, right? The ebb and flow of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Sasquatch one was the most intriguing to me, mostly just for the character being in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then I wanted to throw a couple other cards at you that are supposed to come out afterwards. So if anyone doesn't want to hear, I guess, spoilers for data mined stuff, turn your ear away. But they are adding at some point a card called Erisham, who's like the big villain guy or the big guy from
Oh, the
Eternals.
judge, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Eternals, sorry to say, Kirkland, that's like next month's season pass is going to be the Eternals month.
There
so
you go. Hey,
it's
there's
coming.
probably some cool cards. I didn't like the movie, but I think there's
Mhm.
potential with the characters.
Well, check this out. Erisham is a 7/7.
Ooh, interesting.
He's a 7 cost. At the start of the game, you get +1 maximum energy and shuffle 12 random cards into your deck.
Wow, that's
Really
that's wild.
weird, hey? It just sounds like total chaos. The first 7 cost card, we currently have Death in there, who's like a 9 cost, but with each
Yeah.
kill that happens, she's never going to be that high of a cost, obviously. But yeah, the first 7 cost card, which is interesting, it makes me curious what other ones they'll add in the future. And obviously, because he gives you max energy, you can play him on turn 6. But yeah, shuffle 12 random cards in your deck, so twice as many cards. So yeah, I think it sounds like a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to try and get this card because it just seems
Man.
like a good time. But yeah, that is a weird ability. I really like it.
Just throw Agatha on there and call it a day.
Yeah, Agatha and Erisham, I've heard people say that it's going to be really funny.
Just hands
combo
off.
deck.
Let's not even play the game.
Yeah. So yeah, good times for that one. And then the month after that is like for Deadpool. They're going to be doing a Deadpool month, which I think is fun. I don't know what
Nice.
it's actually going to be themed like, but they're going to be adding Cassandra Nova. They're going to be adding Spider Gwen. I think is going to be Gwenpool is what I was looking for there. Gwenpool. And some other characters like Ajax, I guess, from the first Deadpool movie. They're the villain. So that should be a fun month as well to check out some of those cards. But yeah, looking forward to some of the stuff in the other coming months. But yeah, this one I think might be a bit of a lull for me. Pick up a couple of cards, but that might be it.
Yeah.
Any other Marvel Snap thoughts, my friend?
I feel like a big mind blow moment that I got out of this video that you sent on the Marvel Snap-ism is the artist. I believe she does the chibi versions of the characters.
A lot of the cute ones and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Always thought that was a dude every time I've read the the name because it's like Ryan Hachimura or
I think
whatever.
it's I think it's Rian.
Yeah,
maybe.
Rian. And then that's
Yeah.
what she said. She's like, it's Rian, not Ryan. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God. Every time I've seen it, I'm like, because I just love that name. It's really fun to say. Every time I'm like, oh yeah, Ryan Hachimura.
Yeah.
I got educated today. It is Rian.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Shouts out to the artist though.
It's cool that she's gonna get this kind of the spotlight this month. I love her designs. They're very cute, which is a fun kind of variation on what the other kind of styles in the game are. So pretty cool. I like that they've been doing that for the last like maybe 2 or 3 months in these monthly spotlights, is kind of highlighting a certain artist, which is great. That's a big part of the game. A big part of the wanting to unlock things and get cool variants. That's a big part of it. So
totally,
it's nice.
Yeah, like I love the gameplay of Marvel Snap, but I feel like if it wasn't Marvel and like the collection aspect to it, I don't think I really would have been too attached. But it is really fun to not only get new characters that maybe I didn't know of before, or like right now I'm on the pursuit. Like I have my wish list of cards that I really want. Obviously, Null, Silk, like Ghost Spider, like those types of characters I do really want. But man, they got some beautiful variants in the game, and I haven't gotten a battle pass yet. I feel like that day might come depending on what happens with there. But I go in the shop and like just see like the token cost for like a certain variant that I see. It's like, fuck, don't tempt me, Frodo. That is beautiful right now.
Never use your tokens on the
Is it worth it? Yeah, and like some of them are
it.
so expensive. I think there's like a 5,000 token for a variant or something like that.
Yeah, the premium ones, I forget what
Yeah.
they call them. Yeah, something like that.
Not worth it.
I've
but
never
tempting.
spent that. Never spent
Yeah.
that. I kind of come and go. I get maybe like half the season passes. These days I did get the Thunderbolts one because I like Baron Zemo. I thought he was a fun addition.
That variant is gorgeous too that they have for him.
It's cool.
Yeah, like the highlight one that they had.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know about the like I'm on the fence as I mentioned with Blink, so I don't know if I'll pick up this one. So we'll see how it goes. You're kind of like, if you're gonna get the season's pass, you're gonna have to like kind of incentivized to play a lot to hit that at least that level 50, so you can get all the unlocks with it. Which, who knows if I'll do that this month. But last shout out, make sure you do this. So I don't know if you've ever tuned in, but every once in a while they have Twitch drops. So if you like spend hours on a Twitch stream for Marvel Snap, you get just some credits or some boosters or a variant or something like that.
Okay.
But coming up, they have some to get a couple X-Men 97 variants, a Bishop one and a Mr. Sinister one.
Is the Bishop one, he's just invisible because he's never there?
It really should be, yeah. Just Invisible Man from Deadpool. But yeah, so make sure you tune in. I mean, what I do is I just open it on a tab and go do other stuff. And I come back hours later and I've got my stuff. I cash it in. Didn't really have to watch the streams, but yeah, that's make sure you go connect your account and do that. Get some exclusive variants.
Where do those get announced?
When do they announce them?
Yeah, like, and where do you see these announcements for it? Is it on the app? Like,
I usually I just kind of check out the Reddit every once in a while, and it's usually where I see it. They do usually they'll put them in the rotation, like on the main screen on your phone.
Okay.
And usually they do last for a while, but yeah, they don't advertise them very well. So yeah, maybe I'll start posting them in the Discord and ping you or something like that.
Yeah,
so
that'd be great.
Them, but
I feel like I might have seen them
bonus.
too, and I'm just like, I'm not going on there. That's not worth it. And then
it's
you tell
extra
me about
effort,
it. I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, I want to get some free variants. You know,
yeah,
I'm all about that free stuff, so I'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a fun episode, longer than I expected, but that
Definitely
happens with me and you on Sidequest often.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you everyone for listening. We'll be back again next week for more Sidequest goodness. We'll see you then. Bye bye.